I want to start by saying thank you so much for coming on and offering.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah. When you were announced for Fan Expo Dallas, I got really excited because I just really wanted to go and, talk to you and tell you how much I love your videos and everything. And so after you had asked, like, hey, can I come on the podcast and stuff? I called Ruby because she wasn't at the con that first day, and I was just like, dude!
Yeah. I was like 10 minutes away from the convention center, and my dad was driving, and yeah, she called me freaking out, and I was like, there's no way, absolutely no way, and I was freaking out, and my dad was also freaking out, but he has no idea who you are, but he was still freaking out, and so he misses the exit, and so we're like extra 10 minutes late, but yeah, it was a pretty crazy night.
Yeah.
You made it. So.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
I remember you just walking up, Star Wars theory?
it was great.
Well, it was really sweet meeting you guys. You guys were so welcoming and kind. So
Oh, thank
it was
you.
my first time in Dallas. So
Yeah.
I had a great time there, and it was a great turnout. It was fun.
Yeah, that was a really good one. But yeah, again, like what you said about your dad, I do want to say real quick is every time we'll come back from a con and we're like, I'll call my mom or something. Like, I want to tell you about the day or whatever. And, we met Star Wars Theory. She kind of had the same reaction. She was like, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Who is that?
Who is that?
And I'm like, oh my gosh. Which is actually, it's true because I feel like everyone in the con community or in the Star Wars community, they know who you are. At least they know your name.
Yeah.
Whether or not they know, like, actually, which is kind of how it was just for me a couple years back. I was like, I know the name, but I don't really know anything about you or your videos or things. So I do want to start out actually just saying, if anyone's listening who knows your name but doesn't really know who you are, like, if you were to introduce yourself to someone who's like...
To my dad.
Yeah, to someone who doesn't know who you are, what you do, and things like that. Like, just an introduction.
I would just be like, hi, I'm Nia.
Yeah.
There you go.
Be like, hello, how are you? I leave out the total, like, what I do and all that stuff, because usually it just goes right over their heads.
Right.
But, yeah, if they start asking, I say, I have a YouTube channel. Oh, what YouTube channel? Well, I have a bunch, but the main one is, I talk about Star Wars. Oh, wow, cool. Like, what? And I'm like, well, you just have to go look at it, because there's 4,000 videos. It's like, I can't explain all of it. But, essentially just I say, like, I make fan fiction videos, or I talk about lore, or I talk about the shows and the breakdowns, and it's a really nice community over there, and been doing that for 9 years, and
Wow.
that's
It's a
usually
long time.
Yeah, it'll be 9 years in about a month.
Wow. Happy early anniversary.
Thanks. Yeah,
That's
I'm
pretty
excited.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what?
No, it's just a long time to be doing something. You don't think of it,
exactly.
but it goes by like that. So I'm sure you guys will know what I mean very soon.
Yeah. For us, it's been 3 years, but that's still quite a bit. But yeah, I have no doubt someday we'll look back like, oh my gosh, it's been 10 years.
20
We've been doing
years.
this.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I do want to ask too, not even necessarily what made you start the channel, but what got you into Star Wars? Because that's something actually I don't know about you. It's like your earliest Star Wars memories and it leading to...
Yeah, that would be 1996, maybe 1995, when I was 5 or 6 years old. And I would always go to Roger's Video, and that was like Blockbuster, basically, like a video store. And there was always, I was really into movies, and my parents would always talk about this movie called Star Wars that I would like. And I thought it was about like some kid who goes on an adventure. He's from Earth, and he goes like in the stars, and then there's like a war or something. And eventually, I watched it when I was around that age, and I was hooked ever since. It was the most magical thing I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
That's
It was
cool.
unbelievable. And with the channel, I never intended for it to be a career or a job or anything like that. I made a video one day on my phone, and that was it. And then I forgot about it for like a month and checked back, and there were some comments, and I thought that was really cool because it reminded me of when I was younger, and I was on the Star Wars forums and stuff like that, talking about Star Wars with people. and I just kept going, and here we are.
That's
Here
so
I
cool.
know.
Did you watch all the shows as they would come out?
Like the
Like the
Disney
Clone
Plus shows?
Wars, like the Clone Wars, and or maybe
Yeah,
even
I was a
micro
little,
series.
I was a little hit or miss with the Clone Wars. I was a
Mm.
little late with that because by the time it came out, I was 16 and I was already busy with high school, and I wasn't as like, I don't even know if we had cable. I don't even know. I was trying to watch it, and yeah, I don't think we had cable. But, or no, we did, and then I just don't remember watching it as much as the 2D Clone Wars that came out in 2003. Yeah, but no, I watched the whole thing, and then eventually I did a rewatch of it years later, and I mean it was probably even more special the second time. I feel like the 2D Clone Wars for me was really like really special because that was I remember when George announced that, and then he did the 2006 version, but that was really cool. Yeah. Have you guys seen the 2D one?
Actually,
Bits and
I've
pieces.
seen parts
of
I think
it.
me and Ceaira have probably watched like 1 or 2 episodes, but we were thinking
man.
since we're starting the Clone Wars, like doing a bonus episode about that.
Oh, yeah, you have
but
to.
yeah.
It is so different.
I hear so much about it, and I was actually just reading about a theory, just a fun fan theory, that is not supported by much story, but just they say that the micro series is what actually happened, and then the Clone Wars is Republic propaganda.
Whoa.
Yeah,
It was
Yeah,
it's
well-
it's a the person that came up with it says I don't think it's canon, but it's just fun to think about.
yeah.
So yeah, I've been hearing a lot about it, so we should do that. That would be fun.
It's not for everyone. It's very different from the Clone Wars that we know today. But it was George's original idea, and it was pretty dark. It was cool.
Huh?
It was dark. It was awesome.
It was cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, well, I'm sure we'll definitely get to that at some point. But yeah, we do want to talk about Star Wars in general because I feel like most everyone's stories when they first watched Star Wars, they were a kid. And it's usually, it's pretty similar. Like, I watched it and I was just like amazed by how cool it was because that's pretty much what it was like for me. And like Luke Skywalker was the best character, that I'd ever seen in any movies. And Ceaira and I grew up rewatching Star Wars all the time. Like just every day we're like, can we watch Return of the Jedi again? So, but just the storytelling that George Lucas did and the work he put into it. We just want to talk and get your thoughts too on just, trying to think of how to word this. Like just your opinion on George Lucas creating something so powerful and it compared to like other fandoms and franchises. Because I feel like there's just something about Star Wars that's more special. I don't know if I'm probably biased a little bit, but to me it just seems more special than, I don't want to call out a fandom, but I'm thinking Marvel, like things like that.
Yeah.
So
The thing, well, how old are you guys?
21,
21.
19.
Okay, so you would have been born in the 2000s, I guess. So okay. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty similar in the 2000s. Well, I guess you would have been babies, but the Star Wars like fandom in the 90s was so freaking cool. It was like the quintessential nerd, like what you see in those early 2000s movies about nerds and stuff like that. Like that was what a Star Wars fan was. Today it's more I feel like it kind of is more mainstream. Like it's more Marvel, it's more, there's a more diluted audience. They're not as diehard as because all Star Wars fans back in the day, they were like they knew everything. They knew the lines, they knew, we had the movies, they knew the comics, they knew the books. And they were all about it. It was like do or die for them. Today it's more surface level. I feel like it's more like it's more Disney-fied, and if that's good or bad, I don't know. It's up to other people to decide. But it was quite special back in the day, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And George created something that was really quite different. And I think the Star Wars fandom has always been one that is probably the most emotional and passionate
Yeah.
and entitled of any other fandom that I've ever seen, and for good reason. They know what they want, and this story is just so special to them, and that's why they get so heated when something is out of place, because it just takes them completely out of their happiness, their what is set in their mind for this story and these characters that they hold to such a highlight. So Star Wars fandom is definitely the most interesting one to analyze from a psychological perspective, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting because we talked to a lot of different Star Wars fans who message, about whether we're reviewing a show or they're just talking about, what they like to watch or books to read and stuff. And it is very diverse.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people who, are like, I hate the sequels and it's originals only kind of a thing. And there's people who are like, I hate the originals and I love only the new stuff. So it's just, it's interesting that technically, like, everyone is a Star Wars fan, but it's very diverse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And this happened after George sold it. So it wasn't like this before.
That is something we always say too. We're like, we were born in the wrong time.
Yeah.
I wish we were born just a little bit earlier, because all I remember, like, growing up, by then George, he'd already sold Star Wars by the time I watched it for the first time, and so I never got to experience like what it was like before Disney had Star Wars. Because my earliest Star Wars memories are actually from being at Disneyland, and like there's just Star Wars everywhere and promo for the sequels, which, I mean, I don't want to talk about it too much, but I'm not a big fan of the sequels at all, and neither are they. And so it's mainly the originals. The prequels especially is, I think, where our passion for the fandom lies, is just focused on there, and then the Clone Wars and things like that. Where was I going with that? I think it was just the diversity.
Yeah. But also, like, everybody has, like you were saying earlier, everybody has that different story of how they came to Star Wars and why they love it so much. Like, I didn't really grow up watching it. Like, I remember watching A New Hope with my dad and just being like, okay, cool, it's a good movie. Luke Skywalker, he's nice. Anyways, and then I moved on. And then the sequels came out, and that's when I was like, these are so amazing. But I wasn't really introduced to anything before then. Yeah. And so I met these two, and they were like, you have to watch it. And so I went through and rewatched everything, and I was like, okay, I see why the sequels are not so loved. Yeah. Because it kind of tarnishes the story.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty sure we just trapped you in our cult.
Pretty much.
Hey, you look nice. Come join us. You want to be on the
sequels? No, you can't. Like.
Exactly.
Well, and that's the thing, though. Is like I'll never. Everyone has, like you said, everyone has their own special journey with Star Wars.
Yeah.
And that includes sequel fans. That includes any other fan. And I'll never be one to say like, oh, you're not a real Star Wars fan just because you like this or you like that. Yeah. Whatever brought you in is whatever brought you in, and if that's what you like, that's what you like. But I'm a prequel guy, I'm an original guy. That's my thing. To each their own, and I think that Star Wars is definitely one of those fandoms that today it wasn't really like this back then, but today it's like you have to like what I like, otherwise you are horrible. And back then it was more like, why is Yoda using a cane if he can move around and fight Dooku? It was more like, about the story, about the characters. And like, no, Dooku would never lose to Yoda. What are you talking about? Or like Mace Windu would never lose to whoever. It's like that was the discussion. And that's kind of what my channel was based on.
Yeah.
And then over time it changed, obviously. But yeah, that's been my experience.
Yeah, back in the day, you talk about things that matter, like Yoda using a cane.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what's important here. Yeah, which is, I feel like, what we try to do with our podcast in general is, because we'll do a lot of show reviews, and we're like, let's just talk about what we like about it and the story and the lore behind it. I feel like that's where I tend to be, is I'll just spend hours, looking into lore and all of that fun stuff, which again, I spend hours doing it, but I barely know anything because there's just so much now at this point.
Yeah.
But But yeah, I enjoy discussions on that.
Me too. It's the most fun.
I mean, I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
That is one thing that I love so much about Star Wars is that George created it, and it's a simple story of good against evil, and so it's so kids can watch it and they can enjoy it. But then, for people that want to know more, there is more
Right.
that you can get into, all the shows and everything. So that's something I like, is that like you can watch it and it's a good story like for kids, and then it's also there's so many details that play into it as well.
Yeah.
That's something I love about Star Wars.
What I really like about it, and that George has talked about it, it's more so about showing kids choice.
Right.
You know, how Anakin's journey takes him from, you know, this starry-eyed kid who wants to be a Jedi, and then he goes in and he's making all of these different choices, and eventually he makes a choice with the devil due to his own greed, his lust for power, his need to control everything, when he can't control stuff, like his wife dying. Like, he can't control death, but he wants power to control everything. And it's all about all the choices he's making, and I always found that to be so interesting, that he's showing kids like what happens if you try to over control stuff due to your own selfishness. And eventually, in the end, you can always make a change for the right and turn around like Darth Vader did. It's never too late.
Right.
Exactly.
And it's okay to say, yeah, I was wrong.
Yeah.
You know, tell your sister you were right. And I just find there's just nothing better. I don't think.
Yeah.
There's no story that's better for me.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it too. What George did was deeper than just the story, was like the lesson behind it, you know, and like filmmaking with a purpose of like telling such a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of just trying to make money or
Right.
whatever, you know,
Exactly.
what all the studios are doing today. But
Exactly.
yeah, and that's why it was so successful.
Which it's kind of ironic that they're so focused on having huge cameos where good story, good authentic story really makes the big bucks. Like
Yeah.
if you make a story that you love and that you're dedicated to making it well, then I feel like that's going to go so much further than just throwing in everyone, including your mom's uncle. Like
Yeah.
you just,
No, it's true. Yeah, it's absolutely true. And I think you just have too many people up there that are just making all these executive decisions where they think that they know exactly what they're doing, and they're just looking at, you know, a chart board or what's trending or like they
Right.
they don't understand, and they think if they apply the same formula that they do with other movies in Hollywood into Star Wars, it's going to be successful, and it's just not the case.
yeah.
Because Star Wars is special in that way, is that George had a story he wanted to tell, and he told it, and he's like, this is my story that I want to tell, and everyone involved was like, didn't think it was going to do well, but he's like, I don't
Yeah.
care.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It was about telling the story he wanted to tell, and yeah, it's just not the case today. So
Yeah.
here we are.
Yep. I do want to talk too, because you started doing. When did you start going to cons?
I think that was 2020. Was it 23? 24.
Was it MegaCon that you did it? Was that
MegaCon
your
was the
first?
one?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I remember
Yeah, that was
because
the first one I did.
we were there, but we didn't get to see you because we were only there for 6 hours. That's a whole story. We just flew there, met James, and then flew back.
Cool.
But is that like the first time you've got to actually like see so many people who
Yeah.
watch your channel and things?
Well, no. First time was the premiere for Vader Episode 1,
Oh,
which was also my first like face reveal.
really?
I didn't show my face for 2.5 years.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it was interesting, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's one way to do a face reveal.
Hey guys, it's like you take off
Yeah.
a Darth Vader mask. It's me.
It
Well-
was me the whole time.
Yeah, it was funny because no one really knew what I looked like, and I just remember kind of opening the door of the theater from the inside. I went through the back, and there was like this line that wrapped around the whole entire block, like just all the way down. And people were looking at me, and I was smiling at everybody in line, but nobody knew who I was.
You start talking, and they're like,
crazy.
"Oh my gosh, I know your
Wait.
voice."
The guy.
No,
just
once
have
I
a
went on
full-on
stage, then they were
conversation.
like, yeah, then they.
Is that the
kinda
dude,
got
the
like,
dork that was smiling at all of this?
what a weirdo. But it'll be
Yeah.
different for the second premiere, so. Yeah,
Okay.
people
Yeah.
in my face.
That'll be cool. I'm excited. I hear you talking about it, and I actually I was looking through your YouTube channel before we had you on, and I saw Vader episode. Which again, I'm not very familiar. Do you have is it the full thing on YouTube or like a part of it? Vader episode 1.
Yeah, Vader episode 1's out. It's been out for like 6 or 7
A while.
years.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I saw the right one then because I watched it. Because I've heard you talk about Vader episode 2 and everything, and I was like, okay, I gotta find this Vader episode 1 and see what it's about. And I
Yeah.
watched it, and I was like, oh my gosh! I told Ceaira, it was like the next day or whatever. I was like, I don't think I'll ever see Darth Vader the same way again, just because of the character that you like brought to it. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's because in my head, I watched the originals, first as a kid, and Darth Vader was always like this bad guy, who's just big and bad, but then got redeemed in the end. And then watching the prequels, I was like, oh, it's Anakin, and you see his character. But I never made a connection. Like, as soon as Anakin turned to Darth Vader, I was like, oh, he's, completely, oh, he's the bad guy now. But not the connection of, like, it's still Anakin in there. So when I watched it, this was just, like, 2 weeks ago, I think. I was like, oh, my gosh. It's, like, it just, the connection. It just clicked.
It was so funny. You were like, I don't want to be dramatic, but I think this changed the way I watch Star Wars forever.
Yeah.
So it was
Just wait.
awesome. It was
Just wait.
awesome. Yeah.
That's
I
the
can
whole
say
point of
it.
this series is to show that bridge between episode 3, Vader, Anakin, and episode 4. And by the end of it, you're going to see why he turns into the episode 4 version. And
Yeah.
this transition between Anakin kind of just slowly dying off. There's a scene in the third one that I think is going to be pretty controversial and pretty interesting. And we're going to see what people say about it. But in my head, it made sense. So
Yeah.
it'll be cool. Yeah,
Well, I'm definitely a fan, and I'm excited for it.
me too.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, we all are. Everyone working on it is like extremely stoked. They're really passionate about it.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
That's the
Yeah.
best way to create something too.
Yeah. Right?
I was gonna say,
I was gonna say,
that's
it
the
gives
heart
the
of Star Wars.
vibe of like George Lucas creating
Yeah.
something he loved. So
Exactly.
it's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Well, that's the point. So I hope everyone will like it. We'll see.
Yeah. But again, okay, we got like, I mean, it's fine. We always end up like derailing in a little rabbit hole. But meeting fans at cons and Theory Sabers and starting all of that, do you have any interaction with fans? And I know you meet a ton of them, but any like really not the most meaningful, I don't want to say, but any that come to mind that are like, wow, that was, just a
Not
really
what I was
cool
expecting.
interaction and meeting somebody.
They're all really special in their own way. Obviously, some people you mean more to them, and what the content you make hits them differently.
Yeah.
Some people that say that they were going to take their life, and they found the videos, and it gave them an escape. It gave them a distraction. It gave them, for whatever reason, it made them feel at home,
Yeah.
and they're still around, partially because of that. I mean, how do you respond to that? That's like
Yeah.
that's intense. There was a gentleman who was he was in service, and he gave me his patch.
Whoa.
Off of his,
wow.
yeah, that was pretty big for me. That was in San Antonio. There's some people that they can't find words, they can't talk, they're freaking out, and other people who are just like, "Hey man, love your channel, just want to say thanks," and
Yeah.
keep going. Whatever range it is, it's always extremely comforting and motivational, and
Yeah.
makes me want to keep going for sure. So it's they're all really special and beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's really cool. It actually just reminded me of a story that I believe it was Ewan McGregor had told. Was he was at a con and just doing signings, you know, and with the big stars like that, it's super quick. And so
Yeah.
he got passed a note from a girl who was meeting him there. And later he saw it, you know, and read it. And it was just like, just want to let you know, like, this is a small, quick moment for you at a con, but this is a big moment for me. So it's just, it's cool for you, like, to meet people who, you know, like how you said, like a man who, you know, people are going to take their life or anything. Like, it's a huge moment for them to get to meet you. So it's really cool to meet those people, you know, and everyone in general. But like you said, it just keeps you going with the channel. So
Yeah, it does. When you reach a certain size, it just it's not like it was when I was in the first 700,000 subs. I would say that was probably the most fun I ever had on the channel, for sure.
yeah.
Once it reaches a certain limit, things change a bit. Like, people see you differently. They see you as kind of like a corporation almost, or they don't see you as like a person all that much anymore. They see you more as like this big thing or something. And whereas when you were smaller, it's a little more personal,
Yeah.
or at least they see it as that. It's like, oh, it's a human.
Right.
So it's, it definitely has its journey, and you kind of have to adapt. So no one gives you like a guidebook for YouTube and like how to grow it or how to deal with everything that comes with it. But
Yeah.
yeah, you figure it out. I'm extremely lucky and fortunate to be here, and that's, I think every time I go to a convention, I'm just like having the time of my life, because it's just so cool. Because for so many years I was sitting without a camera on and just making videos deep into the morning, and now I get to meet people who watch those and made it all possible. So it's a beautiful experience, and I'm sure you guys feel the same thing when you meet people that watch your show.
Yeah, already, like, we've only had a handful of those interactions, but it's still like,
That's how it starts.
like, oh my gosh, like, it's just so cool getting to meet them and wanting to make it special when you meet somebody too. Like, let's take the time and talk to them, you know, which is what you do. So that was really cool, like, just getting to meet you, because we meet actors at cons, you know, and some of them are very like surface level, just like, hi, thanks for coming, but you're just, you know, we're talking about barbecue and, you know, food and stuff like that. It was just, you know, like, oh, like, you're a real person, you know, who has an awesome YouTube channel.
I know what you mean. Sometimes it's a little bit disheartening meeting some of those celebrities, because it's like you'll pay like $100 to get an autograph or something, and it's just like, all right, well, I guess that's all I am, and they don't really talk to you or anything, and it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I'll just see you on the screen, I guess.
Yep.
Exactly. I liked you better in the movie.
Yeah, and that's when you kind of have to differentiate, like, that, and you realize, like, that actors and people on TV and stuff like that, they're just doing a job. Like, they're not necessarily. I find YouTubers to be much more personable. Well, except I shouldn't say that, because there's a lot of really arrogant ones nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But every YouTuber always starts with 0 subscribers, and I just think that that's something a lot of actors don't really. They don't feel that level of vulnerability, in the sense of, like, you put out a video and, like, no one really watches.
Yeah.
They have a whole team around them, and a production team, and a manager, and PR, and they get thrust into a movie, and it gets, tens of thousands at the least of people watching, and tickets and money, and so it's totally different for them. I think YouTubers there's that level of connection with the everyday person, because they are everyday people. So it's different in that sense.
Yeah.
But you always have to remember who got you here, and that's people watching.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and it's more hands-on with a YouTube channel, you know? Like, oh, I was up till 3 a.m. working on this video, and I'm going to post it, so it's just, way more personal.
Yeah, and you don't have a production team. Like, it's you. You're the writer, you're the director, you're the producer, you're the talent.
Right.
You're the editor, It's like, you're the PR, you're doing all that stuff. So it is so difficult to be a YouTuber. It really is. And to figure it all out as you go is even harder. But
But yeah, that's
Here we are.
actually one thing. I guess a good segue into talking about the Clone Wars is the actors, like voice actors for the Clone Wars. They're our favorite people to ever meet at
Yeah.
cons,
Yeah.
and especially James Arnold Taylor.
Because they have that personable aspect of where, like, they're just so chill and they care about every person that they're talking to. So,
Yeah. So it's
yeah, well,
really
they actually
cool.
they really do care. They're
Right.
not they're not just like, hey, thanks for the money, like see you
Right.
later.
Right.
Exactly.
They give you every ounce of their energy and time
Yeah.
that that they have with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's how it should be, but unfortunately it's not. But that's why you start supporting, everyone watching should start supporting a lot of voice actors I find are extremely
Yeah.
humble and down to earth.
Yeah. By the way, we live by an airport, so if y'all hear, it's a lot of military jets and things going by, so they're just
Cool.
insanely loud. So for everyone watching and listening too, that's what's going on outside.
I barely heard. It sounded like someone was upstairs. That was about it.
Yeah.
We're upstairs.
Flying a jet. Yeah. But anyway, we usually give warnings because that happens a lot in our podcast episodes.
Every time we hit record, there's like so many that go by.
Like, okay. Oh,
They're
it's
recording.
time. Let's go.
It's like they know.
Yeah. So getting into the Clone Wars, I would say that's probably the show actually that got me the most into Star Wars in general. It was in high school. Ceaira and I started watching it, and it was just like there were so many moments that were just, explaining more things in the prequels and originals, like especially inhibitor chips. When it got
Yeah.
to that arc, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
So we wanted to talk too, just focusing on the characters starting out, I guess, like just getting deeper into like Anakin, Obi-Wan, introducing Ahsoka, just the development that they had that we didn't have before, just that we had everything just based off the movies to begin with. And so then having a show introduce that, and with your knowledge of the 2D animation, are there actually, from what I've seen of the 2D, their characters are pretty different, like personality-wise. So from what I've seen, it cracks me up watching what I have seen, which maybe we'll do a reaction video or something to it.
That would
while
be
we
fun.
watch
That
it.
would be fun.
But yeah, probably starting with Anakin being the chosen one and just getting a little into his journey. I feel like they changed his character a ton from the movies, from being like broody teenager and then broody adult, to like kind of like a war hero in the Clone Wars. So I want to talk a bit about that. And what were your thoughts when you first watched the Clone Wars, just to begin with?
I was like, this isn't Anakin. What is this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the Anakin in the 2D one was the Anakin. That was really on par with going from episode 2 to episode 3. That was like 100%. Yes, that's him. Clone Wars Anakin, like after 2006. I remember watching the episodes and it didn't catch me as much as the 2D one. Perhaps because I was older or whatever, but it just didn't feel the same. It didn't feel like the broody Anakin that was in episode 2 and 3. It was a much more hopeful, much more happy, much more positive Anakin Skywalker, and it's definitely different. I mean, I love the Clone Wars today, but at the time, coming from 1999, the prequels comes out, episode 1. 2002, episode 2 comes out. I was 12 years old. And then when I was 15, 2005, Revenge of the Sith. And then you have, the 2D Clone Wars in between that in 2003. And then you had, 3 years, what is it? No, well, I guess 1 year later you had the Clone Wars movie. And then the show starts coming out. It felt like a very different Anakin to me. And it wasn't Hayden Christensen. I was a huge Hayden Christensen fan. I'm like, he's the only Anakin. Like, why are they getting some other guy doing it? And then, I started watching the episodes and I'm like, okay, I can get on board with this. This is actually kind of good. All the other characters were great, but right off the jump, yeah, it wasn't like this is for sure. This Clone Wars Anakin, that's the Anakin that I knew from Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. It was a completely different version of him. So it took some time to get used to. So, but it's totally different for you guys because you like grew up with all of that, whereas for me it was cemented with the first three, the prequels.
Yeah.
That was
all,
like
and all that you had, 'cause that's
gospel.
all that was released.
that was all we had. That was the Bible. That was it. And then then they added in all those episodes, and it was like okay, a little different. Got to get used to this now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like for me, it was the Clone Wars that really made me love the prequels. Whereas for people, a lot of other people, it's always like, oh, I love the prequels, so I'll watch the Clone Wars, and then they kind of have the same development like you had.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't start watching the Clone Wars until they made me, which was
You're getting kicked off the podcast if you don't watch it.
I was like barely even on because I joined in with Andor season 1.
Bro,
when they
she's
were
gonna hold up a
recording.
note at the end of this, being like, "Help me!" Like, I love I love the sequels. They made me hate it. I didn't want to watch the.
We just have this ongoing bit.
They kidnapped me to go to cons.
They spend all my money.
Exactly.
I hate the sequel.
Rate it.
You want to be in the club, don't you?
I guess.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, I just think that development is so funny too. Just like I didn't have a love for Star Wars without Community. Like it's always been both of that together because there was already a small community when I joined this podcast. And then I've known these two for I don't know,
A while.
a
I
really
don't
long
know.
time.
How do you guys
So-
know each other?
That's debatable, actually. Conflicting
just-
stories.
So we're sisters.
These two.
Yeah. Ceaira and
You
I
two,
are sisters.
right. Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah.
I remember we grew up homeschooled, and so we lived in
Cool.
California at the time. And every year, the only time that you're required, I guess, to go into a school is like it's through a charter school. You do state testing, and that's where I first remember meeting Haley. She does not remember me though.
I do not.
At all.
Yeah.
And so, but I remember very clearly because I didn't have many friends, and she was like the only friend I made there. So it was just ingrained in my for those
She
5 days.
hypnotized you. She wasn't.
So it was her fault. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's why I don't remember it.
But she has no memory of ever
No.
meeting until a couple years later. Ceaira and
We met at horseback riding. So
Yeah.
in the homeschool community,
Again.
you keep seeing the same people. Like
Yeah.
whether you're doing music lessons or sports, it's like it's a lot of the same people. So we did horseback riding together.
Cool.
For 3
Not that
couple
long.
3 years.
Oh no, yeah, like 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. But then they started going to my church, and then it kind of just snowballed. And then,
And then you left.
Yeah.
well, listen,
Escaped the cult for a second. No, I'm kidding.
She
They
escaped. She-
sucked
We
me right
followed
back
her
in.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's weird because their family had always had the intention of moving to Texas, whereas mine was never on the radar. And so an opportunity opened up for my dad's job, and we all moved out here. And then about 2 years later,
2 or 3.
yeah, they moved out here 20 minutes away. And they're like the only friends I had out here that I actually wanted to hang out
convenient.
with. Right. And then
Yeah.
they sucked me in with Star Wars, and I stayed because I had to.
It's basically
We
one
were
of
her
your
only
friends.
That's cool.
No, that's really actually what brought us together because we would hang out a few times. We were like, yeah, that was fun. And then we'd go for a couple months without talking.
Yeah.
But then one day out of the blue, we were like, hey, you want to do the podcast with us? And she was like, okay. And we're like, sign here. I'm kidding. Kidding. And so from there.
blood.
Exactly. Exactly. We get closer. Now we're all best friends.
Yeah.
So it's
Cool.
really
Yeah.
fun.
That's what happens when you're stuck underneath a bed sharing one microphone. So
Which is how we
hours.
started recording under a bunk bed.
Yeah,
Gotta
that's
get
how
the
it
good
starts.
quality.
And then you guys will have your own studio eventually.
Exactly. So
Yeah, literally.
it's really cool to
Just
see
watch.
the progress.
I love that person that left a review like, "Oh, y'all are just chilling on a couch talking about Andor, and we were like, I wish we were chilling on a couch, man.
Or like
It
huddled
gets
in a
hot
closet.
under the bed.
It does.
How long did you
Yeah.
guys ride for? My parents were show jumpers.
Oh,
sick.
really?
Yeah.
I rode for I think it was like, I think I took a gap year or two, but I think it was 7 in total, like from beginning to end. It was
Okay.
a while.
Yeah, I think I was about 4 years, but I rode Western a lot of the time, and
Yeah.
then I started doing English about a year after, or a year before I stopped, and then moved here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I rode for 5, I think. 4 or 5.
Yeah. And you stopped riding before I joined.
Yeah. I missed that.
There's a lot of hit
bandwagon.
and miss in our relationship.
Especially,
Yeah, I'm noticing that.
Yeah.
Like you have one of those devices, the flashy things from Men in Black.
yeah, exactly.
It's like they met, but she didn't remember. And
Yeah.
I didn't remember for like 1 or 2 years, and then I started to remember.
Lost
so
all
weird.
memory.
and then we even lived here for like a year and didn't talk.
We didn't
Nope.
talk much.
No,
yeah.
because we would text sporadically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever ride?
No, as big of riders as my parents were. My mom was a champion in dressage in Germany,
Nice. That's so cool.
Wow.
and my dad was a champion show jumper in the Middle East and in Europe.
Wow.
And yeah, they wrote English, and so they felt that. Well, when they came out here and I was born, I was really sick until I was about 6 years old. So that threw everything off, and then they divorced, and it just never really happened, unfortunately. But they I always wanted to. I mean, I always heard stories. I'd see all their trophies and awards and photos, and all my life it was just horses, like horse paintings and stuff around the whole house.
Yeah.
But no, never did, unfortunately.
It is something I do really miss.
I do too.
I'd say out of all the hobbies I did growing up, that's the biggest one where I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, man, I actually I just want to ride a horse.
Yeah. You
So-
think it'd be easy.
And in Texas, you
right.
know.
You think it'd be easy to
Yeah.
find a place in Texas to do it, but it's like 20 minutes to begin to go anywhere here. So it's like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
at least where I live it is. But
Yeah, I'm still debating on whether I want to move to Texas or Miami, and I don't know, still haven't figured it out.
I would say
Texas.
Texas.
Yeah,
And that is very biased, but out here,
Yeah.
I mean, I have been to Florida a couple times, but I've just the difference in the people you meet. It is just
It
it's
is quite
wonderful
different.
out here.
yeah,
So
yeah. It really is. It's a totally different life. I mean, over there it would be like our warehouse is up in Florida, so that would be an incentive. And I mean, I like Miami. I not the downtown part so much, but the like the beach side, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be like a totally different life. It would be like a
Yeah.
apartment versus a piece of land.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about Texas is that since it's central, it is like 3 hours to any coast. Plane ride.
Oh, okay.
Not driving.
I was like, maybe a Texas coast.
You
but-
drive really fast.
Well, except the Texas coast. Oh,
Yeah.
wait. Anyways, but yeah, you don't want to go to the Texas coast for beach.
There's a lot of
No.
jellyfish over
No.
there.
You don't want to see the
No.
Gulf of America?
No, I wouldn't go to Texas for the beach. I would go
No.
for land and like
Yeah. Yep.
I love that kind of like a Yellowstone life. That's
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's
get
beautiful
better.
out here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the
Yeah.
landscape, especially around like DFW, like more of the prairie landscape.
So many
Yeah, just-
cows.
I don't know where I would go, like San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, but I would probably want to be in the outskirts because I don't want to live in the city.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's good places outside of any of the big cities
Yeah.
where you can get land, and it's not ridiculously far to get to the city if necessary.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Because that was kind of my family's intention too when we moved out here was we knew we didn't want to be in a city, and so we decided to live outside of a small city. It's called Justin, and it's Podunk, tiny little town. But there was a subdivision right outside of that, and we have an acre, and so it's an age away, so we can't have animals, but we would,
Yeah,
but we don't.
I'd love to have horses.
Yeah.
And out here's the place. I feel like every other person out here has a horse.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Unless you're
That'd
us.
be nice.
Unless you're us.
Yeah. Or cow. Or, like, there's so many miniature donkeys everywhere, too. Because
Oh,
they,
that's
like,
cute.
fend off the herd. Because they're so territorial and stubborn. But, like, you're driving by and you see a whole bunch of cows and there's one random donkey.
He's like littler.
Literal.
There we go. Littler than all of the cows combined. But yeah.
He's the most feisty.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Those little ones usually are.
yeah. They have to be.
Like little dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's why I like big dogs, actually, for that one reason. They're just more chill.
And they're less yappy.
They can be. Yeah, I have a King Shepherd. He's 120 plus pounds. And he was that weight when he was like pretty much like 8-9 months old. He's a giant puppy with a huge head.
Aww. Yeah.
And, he's extremely cuddly, but my God, if there's a male or a male dog, like a guy or a male dog, oof, bad.
Yeah.
Females, though, he loves women. He loves female dogs. But no, just rough. Yeah,
Wow.
so
Yeah.
he gets very angry, very territorial.
Yeah.
But then the little ones are always like barking at things, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything.
Men
Even
and
when I
women.
walk by someone's house and they have a little dog, I'm like,
Yeah.
I can hear it from inside. It's just,
Yeah.
If
Annoying.
you're just
Wild.
like chilling in your backyard and you think about it, it'll just start barking.
They can,
Yeah.
can hear your thoughts.
What's
guys
your
have
dog's
dogs?
name?
actually, no. None of us have dogs at the moment.
No.
I do really want a German Shepherd. So
Yeah.
that'll be my first dog
Yeah.
someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dog
I'll
died
send
right
you. I'll
before
send you
we
a picture
moved.
of. Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, not but like it was 6 years ago.
Okay.
Actually,
All right.
think. But yeah,
No
I
recovering
mean,
from that one.
no, there's not.
Damn. You guys
Something in
brainwashed
your
her
head.
good, eh? Just like,
Yeah, exactly.
no
I did
personality.
not teach her to do that.
So what did you teach
Just the
me
other
to do?
I did not program her to do that.
That's funny.
Oh man, it has been a while because it was before y'all moved
Yeah,
out.
it was like 3 weeks before we moved out here, which was kind of nice because we're not stuck in the same house where those memories were. But
Yeah.
yeah,
What's your dog's name?
Rain is the husky, and Loki is the big boy.
Aw. Yeah, I do want to see pictures of them.
Okay. Yeah. I'll send you some. They're funny.
So about Obi-Wan. Speaking of, totally relevant to this conversation.
I don't want to hear any more about Obi-Wan.
I want to hear more about dogs.
That was an amazing
It
impression.
was.
So good. Oh my gosh. For the rest of the podcast, we're going to be interviewing Anakin. So,
What do you want to
just,
hear?
about Obi-Wan's... Sorry, I just respond.
exactly.
His
I used to
character...
spend most of my life as a kid, like as a teen, trying to talk like
doing
Anakin.
impressions.
I literally thought I was Anakin.
That's
Like not even
awesome.
not
Amazing.
not in like a cool way, but in like a let's bully him way. Like
Oh, that's one thing about being a kid I miss is like watching movies and shows and then being like, I want to be them so bad. And for
Yeah.
me, for Star Wars, it was definitely Luke, which is interesting because a lot of the girls will go for like Leia. I mean, when I watched the prequels, though, I wanted to be Padme so bad. But for some reason, Luke was the one where I was like, I wanted the Force so bad.
Yeah.
I would just go around and be like, I believe I can do it.
me too.
8-year-old me, like, I can do it. So,
And then when someone would make me mad, I would.
Yep.
It didn't work though. I just looked like an idiot.
like, what are you doing?
We got the classic minivan with the electric door. We're like,
Yeah.
The sliding.
Did you guys see Fanboys? The movie Fanboys?
Oh,
No. Give it a shot.
okay.
no.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds based off of our conversation. It sounds like
No,
it would
I think
be
no, I
interesting.
think you guys will like it. Give it a shot. Yeah, try
Okay.
it tonight.
Let me hang on. Let me write that down.
Fanboys, yeah. You want to know what Star Wars was like in the 90s? There you go. Early 2000s? Yeah.
Good to know.
The story is that it's a group of nerds that work at a comic book shop. They're massive Star Wars fans, like biggest. And their buddy is dying, and he has like terminal cancer, and his dream is to see Episode 1. So they try to break into Lucasfilm to get Episode 1.
That's awesome.
Okay,
That
that
is so
sounds
cool.
really awesome.
Seth Rogen's in it. William Shatner's
Nice.
in it.
That's
George
cool.
Stein. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds fun. We'll
Yeah.
we'll definitely give
No,
that
it's
one.
good.
Give it a go.
Yeah.
That sounds like the perfect movie.
It's awesome.
Seriously.
Yeah. Fanboys is
we would
great.
do it too. We would do the exact same thing.
Wait,
Yeah.
so you have an Anakin impression. I've heard your Palpatine impression as well. Do you have any
Yeah.
others?
Yoda. I was never good at Han Solo. Luke is okay. Yeah. I don't know.
I want to. What does your Yoda sound like? I'm curious.
No pressure.
No, I put all the pressure.
Put me on the spot, eh?
I'd like to hear all of them, but you can just
You can do it.
You can do it whenever
do
you
it as
Wow.
we go.
But
Yeah.
just start talking randomly in a Yoda
Mid
voice.
conversation, you just
Okay,
break
Won't
out.
blink
with
an
it.
eye.
Well, you see, when I was a kid, I was really bullied a lot, and I found that if I was Anakin, then they wouldn't really bother me as much.
Change? It did not. They still bullied. Bastards they were.
Oh my god. Well, thank you for doing that.
That was awesome.
You're welcome.
I wasn't expecting a Yoda that was perfect.
Like I said, I used to do a lot of voices as a kid to keep
Yeah.
myself entertained.
That's really fun.
Yeah,
Their
definitely
dad can do, what is it? Almost said
Tusken-
Tauntaun. It's
Tusken
not
Raider.
Tusken
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I should get a video of him doing that, actually. Yeah, no. His whole thing is like the Tusken Raiders, so it's really fun.
Damn.
But yeah, so
I
I mean,
can finally see you guys. This whole time I couldn't see you because you guys were literally pixel blocks.
really? Oh,
Yeah.
well, hi.
Yeah.
Hello.
So if you see my eyes darting the whole time, it's just because I'm like trying. Like, that's nice.
You're like,
That's so
okay,
strange.
so that blur is Ruby.
Yeah.
We just
think
keep
that's
switching
Isabella.
spots as we go.
And there's like planes flying overhead.
I bet you it was the planes that were causing the problem.
They
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah.
You're kind of pixelated again. Oh well.
Okay.
Oh no.
I got to see you for a minute. That's all right.
For just a second. We should have probably checked the Wi-Fi before we did this.
It is, well,
It's probably on ours. It's probably on
Is
ours.
it hardwired?
yeah. Mm-mm.
Oh, well, yeah. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which again, since this is our first like video setup, we're still getting everything we'll need. So in the future, that won't be a problem.
I've never. Well, actually, I've done Riverside once, but that was when. Do you know Logan Chitwood? I did an interview with him last week. Yeah, he used Riverside, but I don't know. Is it good?
This is our first time trying it out. We did a test and
Oh.
it comes out good. So you'll see us pixely. We'll see you pixely at some points, but once it's done and like uploaded,
clear.
it's yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, Obi-Wan. Speaking of, just we always derail. It's gonna be the comeback is Obi-Wan, and his character development. I wanted to talk about him just specifically because of James Arnold Taylor and how cool of a guy he is. And honestly, he made me love Obi-Wan
Yeah.
so much more than I did before.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I'm trying to think right now. It's been a while since I've watched the Clone Wars, but like the character development that he had, I feel like he was fairly consistent. The biggest thing would be, Satine being introduced
Yeah.
and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, does anyone have anything to say about Obi-Wan as a character?
Well, I mean, Obi-Wan as a character he's the most true Jedi of them all. I mean, he's gone through, I'd say, more horrible things than any other Jedi, really. I mean, his girl dies in front of him. His master dies in front of him. His best friend, he has to like kill his best friend,
Right.
and watches him turn, and he still doesn't lose hope. And then he has to be a hermit for the rest of his life on some horrible planet. So it's like, for him, he really like stood the true test of what a Jedi is. And I think James does an amazing job portraying that. Probably because that's who James really is at heart.
Yeah, he's a really cool dude. And actually, the panel that y'all did, that was a lot of fun. Getting to watch y'all both, just go back and forth the conversation.
Yeah, he's a really special person. I'm very happy to know.
Yeah.
Very lucky.
I think I like Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars because you really get to see, like, him being a teacher to not just Anakin, but also to Ahsoka. And just, like, you don't really see that much in Revenge of the Sith or, I'm a fake fan.
The clones?
Attack the Clones.
I'm sorry, I forgot to teach you that. No, I'm kidding.
Her programming was starting to...
It's a little
glitching,
glitch.
malfunction
She's not on the
there.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
No, but my computer is. But yeah, it's neat to see the contrast between the two and the consistencies or inconsistencies. Granted, I don't think there's much, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's the book, The Brotherhood. Is that one canon? Y'all know?
Yeah, now it is. Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say, I can't remember.
Disney.
Okay, that one, I did enjoy reading that one because of, like, kind of reading out Anakin and Obi-Wan trying to establish their relationship, because, I mean, I thought it was good. And there were things about the book I wasn't a fan of, but then I just liked getting to... Oh, what?
The books are actually... They didn't really mess up too much on most of the books. The Disney stuff.
Yeah.
It's the shows and movies that they really messed up on.
Which there are a couple other books I haven't read, or books I've started and haven't finished. I really liked Dark Disciple.
Yeah, that was good. Dooku Jedi Lost. I enjoyed that one. That wasn't
That's
bad.
one I've been meaning to start. That one I've heard it's really good.
Master and Apprentice is actually good too.
Those ones I need to finish. I've started those.
Yeah, those weren't bad. Yeah. Which is surprising. Like the books really aren't nearly as horrible as I think the shows are, or as disjointed as the movies. But it just shows that they have too many different teams there, and some who I guess have more free reign, and some who don't. Some who are qualified, I think, to write Star Wars, and some who aren't.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to, like, the authors, too, a lot of times they're very passionate about Star Wars, too,
Yeah.
and, like, just excited to get to tell a story. So,
Yeah, that's
books
the thing.
are pretty
is-
good.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I mean, the next character on our list, we're just going to go over, like, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and then Ahsoka being introduced. Actually, before I watched the Clone Wars, I had absolutely no idea that Ahsoka was even a character. And,
Well, yeah. I mean, she got introduced in the Clone Wars.
yeah, no,
Like, I remember.
I mean
in the
more
prequel trilogy.
like, because the Clone Wars had been out for a while before I had ever watched it, and I
Oh,
never
okay,
even
yeah.
heard her name mentioned to anybody. So
I guess you
then
would
I
have
was
been
like,
born 2004.
I was 04.
4.
Okay, yeah. So it came out 2 years after you were born. Yeah.
But yeah, so I remember questioning, like, wait, is the Clone Wars actually Star Wars, or is it like, does it
Right.
align with the movies and stuff? And so it was just really cool getting to see her character develop. I especially did like her in the earlier seasons when she was really developing, and everyone, kind of hated her character for
Yeah.
being so, like, snippy. But yeah, I mean, she's got her own show now. It was really cool to see her and Anakin, interacting, and I especially loved the Mortis arc. with Ahsoka. Just because anything that has to do with like deeper into the Force and that kind of stuff, those episodes always like had my full attention. Attention.
Attention.
Attention. All right, Rihanna.
I talk too fast and mess up my words.
No, you're. I do it all the time. What do you mean? Especially when you're live.
Yeah.
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 That's when it really happens.
Yeah, that's okay. Have you guys gone live yet?
Only on
Not
Instagram.
Yeah, not on the podcast. We've done a couple Instagram lives. I mean, my job though is I go live every day doing stuff. So a lot of
What do you do?
talking, reselling clothes. So it's basically live auction. So selling clothes, selling shoes.
Is this
it's
like a personal, like your own business?
No, it's helping out another lady who's my boss. So
Oh, okay.
Small business.
yeah, it's a very small business. She did it herself, but yeah, it's really cool. I really enjoyed the job.
We want to start our own though. Sometime.
You should.
Yep. It's just a lot of talking. Our hobby is talking, so
Going live, doing at work actually helped me just be comfortable on camera and going live. Just be yourself. It really helped.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. I mean, you guys could even branch out outside of Star Wars. You could do whatever you want.
Yeah.
which we have talked about doing that too.
Yeah.
Like keeping the Star
Yeah.
Wars one and starting other
If
other
you're,
ventures.
especially if you're kind of starting out the first few years, I wouldn't corner yourself into just Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Talk
mean,
about everything.
Ceaira and I have been podcasting for like 7 years, I think.
Was it?
I think it's
It's almost
six.
Oh, no.
No,
Yeah.
no, like 6.5.
I don't know.
Anyway, we've been podcasting a while, but we never tell anyone our first podcast. Just
I know
because
what it is.
Because it's still up.
It's still out there, and no one has to hear that.
Let's find it now.
Yeah, no, I have had people who have found it and who tell me, and I'm like, oh crap, don't listen to that. But yeah, we were just little. I was 15, she was 14, so
Okay,
good memories though.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah,
I guess
15 was-
I have blackmail, isn't it?
Yeah,
Not
that's
that
the
little.
problem. Is I'm like, it's 15. I was still it was a nerdy podcast. It wasn't about Star Wars though.
I love Bella's.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I had a little voice, and yeah, no one needs to hear that. So
Yeah. Well, we all start somewhere. It's good. You have a lot of experience. So,
yeah.
where do you want to take your show in the future? Like, what would be ideal?
I feel like we have a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
And even, because I have a feeling in the long run we'll always be podcasting. Whether or not it's Star Wars, I'm sure we'll keep this one to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But as we started getting older, because I was 17 when we started the Star Wars one, Ceaira was 16, and then Haley joined us, we were 18.
Yeah.
So just growing up, even in the span of 3 years, this is a crazy age to be, going from teenagers to young adults. So we just want to we talked about starting a podcast that's just about life in general and being young adults and, getting jobs, wanting to start businesses and just, all kinds of stuff along those lines. So
I love
maybe-
those kind of conversations. I think those are so
Yeah.
they're so fun. Well, I have a talking channel that's literally the point of it.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's talking about like real stuff is it's also interesting. It's also enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even as, like week to week, we're like, this is what's going on.
Right.
And like kind of problem solving as we go.
Yeah.
So,
And we already talk about that stuff, the three of us together, quite a lot. So it's like, it's valuable information to us, and we have a lot of viewers who are in the same spot. And so having that connection with viewers and with ourselves, I think, creates a community where everybody feels a little less alone, which is it's pretty comforting. So
Yeah, no, for sure. And there's going to be so many more people who have like something to say than just Star Wars
Right.
because well, everyone goes through life. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of ideas and
So many ambitions.
very very ambitious.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
which is a
Good.
good thing.
Yeah.
So
It is, and not many people are these days. They just wish for it, but they don't really do anything about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and it's strange too because these past couple years, like, we've slowly ended up having the exact same wants and like ambitions and like dreams, I guess you could say. And so it's strange that, and then these opportunities, with the podcast keep popping up. Like, you're here now. Other people have offered to come on, and so it's like, okay, maybe this is the angle we should take, or this is the angle we should take, or
I mean, and that's something we decided to do this
Right.
year because last year we were really talking about whether or not continuing this podcast more regularly.
Yeah.
And then after this year, just Fan Expo Dallas was the first con, and so many opportunities came up, and we were like, maybe we should for this year, like, go more with the Star Wars podcast, just to start video versions and get the hang of that. So then in the future, for any other project, we know how to do it.
Yeah.
So, yep, just doing new things. It's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all terrified of trying new things, but we make ourselves do it anyway.
Yeah. Anytime you do something out of your comfort zone is usually when you start to like expand as a human.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Reach new
Exactly.
heights. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
no, you're doing a great job. I totally encourage that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got.
So Obi-Wan.
So Obi-Wan.
Talked about it.
What Obi-Wan?
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, we're going to get more into the Clone Wars this season. We're going to start with the movie and do a whole review on that, and then go by arcs for sure season 1. But we do have another segment we want to do with you. I guess we
Sure.
should have come up with a clever name. So I'm going to come up with one right now. It's just going to be Star Wars Theories with Star Wars Theory.
Okay.
Nice.
I should have totally pre-planned that, but I guess, hey, I thought of it now, so there we go.
There we go.
That was very original.
Okay,
Yeah, I
let's
mean,
do it.
it's a pretty basic name. But we have a couple, just generally, some of them are a little more lore heavy, some are very just fun and funny Star Wars theories and stuff we can discuss. So we have some of our own, but we also did reach out to our listeners, asking them to submit theories as well. So
Okay.
we're going to go through the list and just have conversations about it.
Okay.
And so the first one was actually an idea I had, and then one of our listeners submitted it as well. But it was about Anakin, and at what point in Star Wars does he bring balance to the Force? And kind of like, what does it mean to bring balance to the Force? Because there is a big debate, and I know you talk about it a lot, but like Anakin, like the theory of like 22 years in the light and then 22 years in the dark. And just one thing I was wondering was, at what point did he bring, like, what does it mean to bring balance to the Force? Because a lot of people say it's like an equal amount of light and dark, but as a kid I always thought it was like when the light side is in power, that's bringing
Yeah.
balance to the Force.
That was the balance that the Jedi thought, was that balance means rid the galaxy of the Sith, rid the galaxy of the dark side, or at least make the light side the majority. And he really helped with that during the time of the Jedi, the time of the Republic with the Separatists and all that stuff. Because if he wasn't around, the Separatists would have won, I think, a long time ago.
Yeah.
He really was a key player in the Clone Wars, and eventually then he turned to the dark side, and I think that he really brought, funny enough to say, a lot of light to the dark side. Like he basically made the dark side prominent, and drowned out the light, and then in the end he snuffed out the dark side, and it was really only Luke Skywalker that was around, and that was George's original vision and story. So I think balance has two different meanings depending on who you ask it. If balance, you're going to ask, Plagueis, he's going to say, well, the true balance would be the dark side is probably more powerful than the light. or at least, overcomes it, because that, from their point of view, that was the true, that was their light side, but if you ask the Jedi, then they want the Jedi to be in power. So it's, at the end of the day, it's kind of a battle of power, I feel like, between the two of them, until you get someone like, what they introduced in Rebels with the Bendu, who was literally in the middle, which I found to be pretty interesting. Or you have the Mortis gods,
Right.
who are kind of removed from everything and just observing, and they're like extremely powerful. Kind of like the Father, essentially. But, I think George's idea of it was that the Jedi would eventually be the ones that are in power. And that's exactly what happened in the end with Luke.
Right.
And that's how it would have ended, and how it was supposed to end.
Yeah. Because it's not necessarily like at the end of with Luke, like it's not every single bad thought is wiped from the face of, I can't say the face of the earth, but from the galaxy.
Galaxy.
But
Yeah.
it's somebody fighting back against it. And so I guess for me, what I'm thinking is like the balance is that the light does win, but there's still always bad that's fighting against it. And so
Yeah.
it's that
There's yin
constant
and yang.
battle. Right.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
agree.
and also I remember George talking about it too, like describing the light and dark, like the dark side is selfish and the light side is selfless, and just like having the balance in that.
Yeah.
So yeah, very very
Right. It's like what
interesting.
Anakin said. It's like the Sith only think about themselves. They think inwards.
Right.
Because the Jedi are selfless.
Yeah.
They think about
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's hard for the Jedi to do, And we saw Anakin struggled with it the most, is the attachments and
Yeah.
fear, and so
Yeah.
interesting. Actually, one
What do you
another.
guys think?
Oh, you start. I guess I could start. If y'all are still thinking, I would say I always tended to think more like when not necessarily the Jedi, because by the time of when the prequels came around, the Jedi Order was pretty corrupt. So that's not necessarily balance in the Force, because they were so like heavy on one side and corrupt in everything they were standing for. But kind of by the end of Return of the Jedi, like Luke, being on the light side, and then Vader coming back to the light side, in my mind I was like, oh, there's the balance. It was like the light side won, and then Palpatine died.
Yeah.
So the balance to the Force was brought then. But yeah, I mean, it's diverse and constant. Like, I'll hear another opinion, I'm like, oh, that's a good idea to think about. But it's always in my mind been like, when the light side is in, like, I guess has the upper hand, then
Yeah.
there's balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the light side is always wanting to achieve peace, and like the rebels, that's their goal, is they want freedom, and they want to be able to be rid of the fear that the Empire caused, and the Empire wants control by fear. And so I think, like I kind of said before, is you have those different traits of both sides, and they're always opposites of each other, like like yin and yang. And so
Yeah.
when you have someone like Ahsoka or Luke, and they see that difference and they choose a side, or they decide to stay in the middle, that's when the stories come up, and when something is actually done to achieve either side or bring balance, I guess, in a way. Yeah, and even like with Anakin, I do like the theory that like he's 22 years in the light and 22 years in the dark, and then he's redeemed by Luke, and then throws Palpatine in the trash. Yeah, I've always liked that theory of like Anakin. Obviously, in canon, he is the chosen one. He's the chosen one because he's lived both in the light and the dark an equal amount of time, and he does destroy the Sith. But he makes way for Luke to continue, I guess, that journey of defeating the dark side. But that's never going to happen, because
Yeah, like you can never
Yeah.
entirely get rid of the dark side.
Right.
And also, that's another thing, too, that I like about it is, like, the characters like Luke, who, you know, just wants to do good and uses the light side of the Force and just wants to, like, make a difference and, like, is very caring versus, like, the Jedi in the Order who are, like, more focused on the rules. Like, this is the light side. And then that's when it kind of, you know, goes out of balance on the light side of the Force. If it's just, like, they're so focused on the rules, they're forgetting about the reason why, you know, they're supposed to be the light side users and everything. So Jedi like Luke Skywalker, you know, that's why.
Right.
I think that's when there's a true balance in the Force.
Right.
Exactly. Like, balance means balance, not being too far into the rules and then too far into the, I want to kill everybody for power.
Right.
Literally having balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, some would argue that balance was, you know, Vader and the Emperor and Luke and, you know, Obi-Wan, or Luke and Yoda,
Right.
2 and 2. I think it was more so about the Jedi being in power because they themselves are balance.
Right.
You know, if they were more like Qui-Gon at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another good example is Qui-Gon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally like the perfect Jedi.
Qui-Gon
They
and
died.
Luke would have just been in sync.
Oh, yeah, it would have been great.
That would have been cool to see.
That would have been really cool. I'm sure with the
They-
power of AI, some fans will create something now. Like,
Yeah,
some, like,
I'm sure.
fan fiction for, like, Luke and Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
In some world in the afterlife.
I'm
the
sure
Force
someone's
ghosts.
made that, actually. Just Google Google some fan fiction about it.
Or
You
like
say the
some
A-
weird time travel thing.
You say a afterlife? AI? A afterlife?
Did you? You're the one who said afterlife.
I didn't say AI.
No, I didn't say AI either.
Somewhere in the AI.
AI afterlife.
Oh no.
I think you just said it fast. Maybe.
AI
Maybe.
afterlife.
I guess so.
That's a
where
new
your
thing,
phone
though,
goes
the
whenever
AI
it dies.
afterlife. What?
That's where your phone goes wherever it dies. Whenever it dies.
This goes to the AI afterlife?
Yeah. Or yeah.
Where Qui-Gon and Luke are hanging out?
Yeah, that's where they're chilling.
But yeah, I mean, it's a very, very complex topic, talking about the balance of the Force.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
from a
a
certain
good
point of
one.
view. It's really, yeah,
Yeah.
so.
A certain point of view.
Yeah.
What's
Everybody
your guys'
has a
favorite
different
movies?
take.
Pirates of the Caribbean. No, I'm kidding.
I
Yeah,
almost
it can be
believed
outside
you.
of Star Wars. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
Outside of Star Wars is hard, but in Star Wars, Return of the Jedi.
Return of the
I
Jedi.
would,
Okay.
I'd probably
Yeah.
say that either Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
And then, I mean, of course, then there's Revenge of the Sith, so a lot of options.
Yeah.
But I'd say Return of the Jedi.
And outside of Star Wars?
Actually, I do really love Pirates of the Caribbean.
Either
So-
that or Kung Fu Panda, man.
Hey, good cinema.
You ever seen Kung Pao?
No. Do I need to add that to the list too? Hang on.
Yeah.
I'm writing it down. I'm gonna, by the end of this, we're gonna have our homework.
You will, yeah. Steve Odekirk is a good buddy of mine. He created and starred in Kung Pao, and he also creates all the Thumb Wars videos.
That's awesome.
Interesting.
I feel like
He also
I'm
did,
missing.
Bruce Almighty, Ace Ventura 2, Nutty Professor.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That is cool.
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie outside of Star Wars?
I have 3 that are tied, depending on my mood. Gladiator
Get that.
with Russell Crowe, Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, or Troy with Brad Pitt.
I haven't seen
We need to have
Gladiator.
a list. We
You haven't
need
seen
more
any of them?
prepared.
No. I'm a little scared. I can barely watch John Wick.
Isabella, have you seen any of those?
No,
None of them. Wow.
no. I'm
I don't know if
seriously.
I don't know if it'll be your thing, but like, yeah, those 3 are
I
my.
mean, I definitely have an
favorite.
interesting taste in movies. I like a lot of action, things like that.
Okay.
And if the story is really good, then
Okay, you're gonna love it. You're going to love Gladiator. I have a feeling.
Oh, put it on the list.
Okay,
Yeah,
hang on.
just put those three on the list. Gladiator, Last
Writing them
Samurai,
down.
and Troy. And then you should also add Galaxy Quest as well. That one's hilarious.
What's the next one? Oh, wait, I
Troy.
remember.
Troy.
What was the last one you said?
You said last
Galaxy Quest?
Oh, Galaxy Quest.
That's with Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver. It's like a Star Trek spoof kind of thing, but it's actually it's one of my favorites. I love
That's
it.
cool.
There we go.
I feel like
I
I'm-
love this list grew so much.
I feel like I'm missing a movie that we've said like, oh, this is just the perfect
The
movie,
greatest movie. Yeah.
and I can't
You guys-
think of
you guys
what it
should
is.
do movie reviews. I would love to see a channel on that. The three of
We
you just
might.
watch
Should.
movies and review them.
yeah.
Be so much fun.
And not being, limited to Star Wars. So that would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
even new
love-
movies.
Good idea.
Be fairly easy too.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to have one every once in a while where we're like, nothing about that was good, not even a little.
I hated it. Moving on. That's the thing, though, is we are pretty picky when it comes to things. Which even when it comes to Star Wars, like the new shows, I didn't finish The Acolyte, and I have not seen season 2 of Andor.
Andor was. I didn't like the first three, but
Yeah.
people were just like, you have to watch it. I'm like, all right. And Roger Christian
Yeah.
was like, trust me, once you get to episode 7, it's different.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I
That's what I've
finally got
heard.
my way to episode 7, and then episode 8 until the end is where it was actually
Yeah.
they did a good job. I
Okay.
can't say anything about it. So nothing bad.
It was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you did see
Super
it,
slow
right?
the first, like you said, up to
Yeah.
episode 7. And
That's
then-
what my other sister said too. Except she said she liked the slowness of the beginning.
Interesting.
So yeah. I mean, everyone
Yeah.
has opinions on it. So.
Different strokes, different folks, I guess. Yeah.
Mhm.
They like different things. So
Yeah.
yeah, those first 3 were like not it for me. But then when I came back and was like, whoa, this is actually
Yeah.
quite amazing.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to give those a go.
Yeah, you could even just skip ahead to episode 8.
I can't.
figure it out.
I can't. I've tried like
can't do that?
skipping things, but I need to start at the beginning for everything.
Damn.
So
Okay.
yeah, but I mean, I'll probably watch them all. Just sit down and have a marathon
Yeah,
or something.
in time. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's
One
one of
a
the
year.
new ones I'd recommend. Mm-hmm. What am I? What?
Oh, I just said one a year.
Oh, one of you.
Time for the annual watching of Andor.
Oh my god! And she's on her phone the whole time.
Exactly.
It's like, what
Falling
happened last
asleep. I need to go
Finishes
to the
the episode.
bathroom.
It takes you a whole year to watch one.
It pretty
Just
much
every day is just
Pretty
1
much.
minute.
Okay.
No, that wouldn't take you a year.
Yeah. Well,
1 minute a week.
No.
1 minute a week.
Yeah.
That's a terrible way to watch it.
Yeah.
1 minute a week.
It'd be rough.
That would.
Let me ask you guys something. What would you want to see for Star Wars going forwards? How do you feel about the state of it? How do you feel where they've taken it? Especially having been born, in 2004.
Yeah.
I would like to see Star Wars handed back to George Lucas.
Yes.
Let's say that'll never happen.
Yeah.
How would they? How would
Yeah.
they go around making that as close as possible to George?
I think it just goes kind of like what I was saying earlier. For me, it's really like the intent behind what they're creating. Like, what's the heart? Why do you want to make this? Is it for money? Is it because you're actually passionate about what you want to make, or what message do you want to send?
Yeah.
I mean, we were just talking a little bit earlier about like what Star Wars was originally supposed to be called was like The Adventures of Luke Starkiller or something like that. Like, I think it would be really cool to go back to that and kind of detail the adventures that Luke went on after Return of the Jedi. Because I mean, I know there's a lot of comics and books and stuff out there, but I don't read those. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not that I
Yeah.
won't.
We didn't
but
program her for that.
No, I don't know how to read.
Wait,
We'll
that's
download
not-
that in software later on. Oh man, this just started a whole thing. The rest of every episode we ever do.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're welcome. Just touches the back of her neck. She just shuts down.
Like C-3PO.
Take my
That's
arm
enough
off,
out of
will
you. Oh no, she's sleepy.
It's bedtime.
Oh man. He accidentally pat her on the back a little wrong. Oh,
I
man.
actually
She's
really love the sequel.
Exactly.
like, what? We thought it was a joke. Yeah. Anyway.
As far as just something in story, though, that I would
Yeah.
like to see, I would like to see a Rex something, whether it's a series or just something with Rex to kind of fill in some gaps between, well, just after the Clone Wars,
Yeah,
kind of in the Bad Batch timeline. Just
I agree.
Rex's perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like what happened to Echo and Gregor. Who's the other one that survives? Not Echo. Like what the three of them
you
in
mean
Rebels.
Wolf,
Like,
Gregor.
yeah.
and
how do you
Rex.
feel about Stuart Beattie's original idea for the Kenobi trilogy movie, where Cody would have gone back to Tatooine and helped Obi-Wan?
Yeah.
I thought that would be really interesting. And I was really bummed when I found out that it was like a 3-part, I think it was going to be 3 movies originally, right?
Yeah.
And then they ended up taking like the first part and making the series. But I was really bummed about how that turned out because I feel like the story could have been told, just even slightly in a different way. It would have been much better. So I am bummed that we never got to see like the original story for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
And I feel like they kind of hyped it up a little bit because didn't at one point they said that there wasn't a lot of Cody in Bad Batch because they wanted to save his story for something else. I guess the timelines doesn't make up for that, but
I can't remember exactly, but yeah, we don't know where he is at the moment. So it would have been cool to see him in Obi-Wan.
No idea. Maybe we'll know in the Darth Maul show.
Maybe. Which
I didn't
I
think about
do.
that.
I have very high hopes for that show.
Yeah. Me too.
So far, it seems like it's gonna be good. So I mean, you won't know till you watch it. So
I hope so. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Usually, whenever Sam Witwer's part of something, I feel like it goes okay.
yeah.
It doesn't go too off the rails.
Yeah.
yeah, especially because he's so passionate about it too. So
Yeah.
like even as he's just putting everything into it, and he knows a lot about Star Wars. So I'm sure that helps a ton.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you'd hope so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now just thinking about the future of Star Wars and where it's gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the future of Star Wars, the future of the fandom, everything's just different today than what I grew up
It
with.
is.
It's it feels like when I was with James in that panel, it honestly feels like I'm some sort of like vampire that's been around for so long because I've seen so many different faces of the fandom,
Yeah.
where it's like this is the most weird that I've ever encountered. But hopefully, we'll get some good Star Wars that will unite everybody.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Okay, actually, when the prequels first came out, I've heard there was a lot of like hate towards them. What do you remember from that? Like, I'm assuming you loved them when they came out.
I love
Sounds
them.
like-
Yeah,
Just as much as I love them today. Yeah.
yeah, that's really cool.
What was your
We-
question? What were you gonna ask?
Oh, I was going to say, it sounded like a PTSD interview. You're like, what do you remember about?
Sit down in extreme detail.
Well, yeah,
That's
because
very
it's so different today, and I have to say, like back then, it was hated by a lot of, I would say, people, young and old, that felt like it was just totally off kilter from what the original trilogy was, and for me, I mean, I grew up with the original trilogy. That was the first set of films that I watched. And seeing the prequels, for me, just made it so much more alive. It made it so much better. This is like a different time. It's a younger time. They're more hopeful. They're more energetic. They're different. It's more silly, let's say. It was cool. I loved it. And I was always fighting for it and explaining it, and whether it was in the forums or it was in person, and giving points as to why it was so great, why Anakin was the way he was, and blah blah blah, and basically what I do today, literally. But I was just doing it, off camera,
Yeah.
like real life. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was, but it was also really loved. Like there were a lot of people who really, really loved it, and it was more so about, like what I said, the conversation wasn't about, oh, you're this, that, and the other thing because you like the prequels or you hate the prequels. It was more so about, well, how do you explain Yoda being this disoriented, like little frog in Episode 5 to being this really coherent, like smart, savvy, jumping around like crazy and fighting Dooku? How do you explain that? And what, it all happens within like 20, 30 years? No, come on. That was the argument. Whereas now today it's not even about
kinds
Star
of-
Wars. It's about
A lot of
politics.
accusations. Yeah.
Yeah, it's mumbo jumbo. I don't agree with it. But yeah, back then it was at least on, like, it was about Star Wars, and
yeah.
it was much more fun,
Right.
much more enjoyable conversations. Even the disagreements that would get heated, it was like, oh, you don't know anything about Star Wars. It would be
Right.
like that.
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like
It
it's more common now because of just social media, like that. Now everybody can share their opinion so easily, even if they're not necessarily like as like into Star Wars, and they just want to make an accusation against you because of something. It's more accessible to people to be able to do that. I just to be able
Yeah.
to do that. So
No, yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. It is what it is. You gotta roll with it and understand that a lot of the people making these kinds of claims, I don't think, are even the biggest Star Wars fans. Not that they're not, but I just don't think that they're like how it was in the old days, where you lived and breathed and talked about Star Wars, and you just really cared about the story so much. At least the first, 4 films, 5 films, 6, and back in the day, being a Star Wars fan was like, if you were a Star Wars fan, you were not popular. You did not have a girlfriend. You did not get invited to parties. And back in the 2000s, house parties were pretty cool. So you wouldn't, you didn't really have friends. The friends you had were like you, kind of outcasts from the popular crew, and you would all hang out on a Saturday night ordering pizza and playing video games type of thing, which to me was the best. That
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
that was awesome. But at the time, you want to kind of explore, and you want to be a little bit popular and meet people and meet friends and stuff like that. But if you were not a closet Star Wars fan, then you definitely weren't. Like, you embraced it. You were like, you know what? I'm a nerd. This is me. And it was a quintessential, like, shut up, nerd. Or like, no one likes you, nerd. That kind of thing.
Right.
That's what it was like. Whereas today, it's like, it's like fashionable to be a nerd.
yeah.
Like, a lot of people like fake being a nerd, either for like, I don't know, attention, or to be edgy, or to be different, or
Right.
for money. You see a lot of that today. But it was truly, really a real thing back in the day.
Yeah.
To be a nerd. And if you were a nerd, you were proud of it and you owned it.
Yeah. That's really cool. I will say the one pro, though, in my opinion, to having, social media being so dominant now in our culture is getting to connect with people you wouldn't have otherwise. Like, just through starting the podcast and having, some mutuals reach out who just like are like, oh, I listened to the episodes of the podcast and liked it. And then we just become friends. Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I wouldn't have met you any other way. So it's just really cool in that sense.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree. And it's definitely good and bad.
Definitely.
That balance we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, continuing with our theory segment, the next point was actually about Ahsoka and the Mortis arc. How in those episodes she died, and then the daughter used like the last of her life to bring Ahsoka back. What are you laughing at?
I remember don't remember what context it was in, but I just have a little Bella in my head going, he died. Oh, it was. Never mind.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Me neither.
It was the Johnny and Jefferson thing.
Yeah, no. Before we record podcast episodes,
You're gonna hit it this way and
keeps
it's gonna
hitting
snap in your face.
it keeps hitting the headphones. It's not actually hitting my head.
That's great.
But that is like the fourth time that has happened. This is us podcasting. This is usually how it
This
goes.
is amazing. This is where I
we-
feel at home.
Yeah, we just we have a great time with it, and we're stupid, so we'll admit it.
No, you're not stupid. No, this is great.
In a funny way, I should say, our sense of humor. But
Go.
anyway, we usually do podcasts like warm-ups and stuff, and we'll talk for like 10 minutes before recording, but sometimes we'll just start cracking each other up, because you have the mics and we can all like hear each other, so we'll try to make each other laugh by doing voices and things. So she just remembered something we did a couple years ago, so that's what happened.
Oh, she remembers now.
Hey!
It's coming back.
You updated the memory circuits.
Good job. But anyway, about Ahsoka. One thing I had always thought after the daughter brought her back, because you know how the daughter was kind of like represented the light side of the Force, you know, because there was the father, the son, and the daughter. More tendencies, I should say. So after she brought her back, and Ahsoka had like the connection to Morai, you know, which was never fully explained, but it's like, you know, associated with Mortis and the daughter. If she ever like what that meant for Ahsoka going forward, kind of like if she would always have more light side tendencies, or just, you know, and it might be explored more in the second season of Ahsoka, having to do with Mortis and everything, but just kind of like speculating on Ahsoka's future having to do specifically with that. So if you had any thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think it's really ambiguous, like how Dave left it with Morai. But, you know, we saw, I don't know if you remember, we saw Morai in the background of, oh gosh, what was that planet that they were on? The first time we see Ahsoka with Mando. Anyways, we saw Morai there. We see Morai in Clone Wars, at last episode of Clone Wars Season 7, flying above Vader. And then, of course, in the Clone Wars. But, yeah, I think the daughter is always, like, flying around Ahsoka. And I don't know if that makes Ahsoka have a guide or a guardian angel, or it makes her, like, invincible almost. I'm not really sure. But there's definitely a link and a bridge to both of them that I think gives Ahsoka a certain level of ability, or maybe clairvoyance, that, you know, she would never normally have.
Yeah. And I mean, again, it's so, like, we don't know a lot about that connection just because Dave never expanded upon it. But maybe as Ahsoka Season 2 goes on, I feel like it's going to have a lot more to do with Mortis in general.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think so too.
I am excited about that because, again, Ahsoka, I did really like the show, certain points of it, but then there was a couple other things where I was like, oh, it just wasn't as big a fan. I feel like it's like that with every show nowadays, all the new Star Wars ones, but I am excited for Season 2.
Yeah,
Me
like
too.
when she took off the thingy.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
A bit of a jump scare.
that was so weird.
Yeah.
There's another. It's like,
All
I
the
never-
memes were
Oh,
great.
dude, that was cracking me up.
I hope it'll be good, because I liked some of the episodes of Ahsoka Season 1, and then some of the others, like the ending, for me was just lackluster.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, if they really want to continue with Baylan Skoll, I think that's probably the most interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it was like a statue of the father at the end of it, right? That
Yeah.
Balin was standing on.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much.
Well, if
So many
you remember,
questions.
when he was looking out into the distance, he saw that the peak, the mountain peak
Yeah.
with the flash, the star on it. That was the same one that Anakin was running to in the Clone Wars. And then when he went into the temple, he met with the father.
Oh.
Yeah,
So,
very interesting.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on, like, Anakin in the Force, like, becoming the father, like, after he died.
Yeah, I could see it. I think it's interesting theory for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like the balance between both. Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
kind of cool. What do you guys think?
I've always felt like that's kind of where they were heading, especially with Ahsoka and his Force Ghost standing there. And
Yeah, I was just
loitering,
thinking
but-
that too, since, you know, she's so closely associated with the daughter now, if he would take the father's place and then she would take the daughter's place, and then
Yeah.
there's someone else to take the son's.
Obi-Wan.
Damn.
Because he totally would.
Who's your guys' favorite character?
Obi-Wan.
Luke.
Rex. Or Luke. They're tied.
She's gonna be like Ray.
Ray Skywalker.
No, you will be brainwashed then.
Yeah. Oh, she's learning.
What about you? Who's your favorite character?
Anakin and Qui-Gon.
Yeah. Yeah, Qui-Gon is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. If only he lived, everything would have been different, man.
It's true. Yeah.
Whole galaxy, everything.
For sure. Although there are theories that he kind of died on purpose.
Yeah,
Just
that was
because-
yeah, I made that video.
Wait, did you?
Yeah, that was my video back in the day. And then
Wow.
like a whole bunch of like
Did you
TikTokers
start that
took the
theory?
idea. Yeah, they all took that idea and they're like, oh, they made shorts about it and stuff. I'm like, all right.
Oh, there we go.
What's-
See, I didn't even know you made that.
Yeah,
That's
go
really
back to the
funny.
original video. Yeah.
I will. I'm gonna go find it now.
What's
It's
funny
called,
about that?
Yeah, add
This-
that to my list real quick.
This changes how I see this Qui-Gon theory changes how I see Star Wars or something like that.
Did I just read that last night? Okay, so I was researching theories, and when you type in Star Wars theories, of course you pop up. And so I thought it was so funny how many times you popped up as I was just looking for theories,
Oh,
preparing
good,
for
that's
this
awesome.
interview.
Nice.
Did you look at any of his theories?
I didn't. I was trying to look for something new.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
What would you like to
something
know? You guys can ask me anything you want. Like
I was about to say, like,
yeah.
what's your favorite? I'm trying to figure, because theory is so broad. But I guess, yeah, like any theories that come to mind that may be
Relevant, I guess.
I mean, the
think.
first one where Palpatine was Snoke was Palpatine. The first video I ever made came true. 2016. That was the first video, and yeah,
That's
I
cool.
guess they were watching.
I was gonna say, they're like, oh, that's a good point. Let's do that.
You know, I can't tell you how many times I've made a video where it ended up happening in the sequel trilogy years later.
That's really funny.
Wow.
I bet you they are watching.
Plot twist, they're taking all of their ideas. Too bad they're not taking all their ideas from you.
I mean, the same thing happened to them. You search Star Wars theory, and Star Wars theory popped up.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
Yeah. There actually is one theory that I totally love that's not relevant anymore, but it's probably my favorite Star Wars theory. But it was back when it was just the originals. And it was probably the first movie.
Oh, it was
It was
just the first movie.
before Empire Strikes Back had come out. And there were theories going around that R2 was Luke's father. Because, and it made me really think, like, they had nothing to go on when it came to Star Wars because there was no lore. It was just one movie. And so
Like, anything could happen.
it's so true and it's hilarious.
That's
They
crazy.
said like they took his mind and wired it into
All right.
a droid.
Yeah. So anyway, every time I think of that one, it just I'm like, man, I love Star Wars fans.
That's
They're
wild.
bizarre.
Yeah, I guess sure. Guess you had nothing else to go off of, so.
Exactly.
There was only A New Hope at that point.
Yeah.
But you have to think, like, it would make more sense if they thought C-3PO was Luke's father. Like, at least he's in a humanoid shape,
Yeah.
rather than little R2.
That's way too obvious.
Like, they just shoved him in there.
Yeah, I love how they didn't think Vader. I mean, I know for a fact
Someone.
some of them did, which is probably blew their minds in Empire Strikes Back. They're like, "Oh my gosh, it's not R2D2." Guess it would make sense. It's an actual dude. So yeah,
It's an actual dude.
yeah. So anyway,
I think the Darth Vader reveal was probably the father reveal was probably the most like shocking to a lot of people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Which is kind of sad because I feel like we grew up in a time where it's kind of like common knowledge. Like, you just know Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. Like,
Actually, I didn't.
you didn't? I did.
No, I didn't know. And I watched that. I must say, I was so into the lore of Star Wars when I watched the first movie. And I was like, I just want to know who Luke's dad is because I have no idea. And then when episode 2 came out, or technically episode 5 came out, and they announced that, I was like, oh my gosh! Like, my little mind was blown. So I do remember that. That was a good memory.
I guess I grew up with a lot of family members and friends loving Star Wars, and so I was always on the back foot of it and like, again? Oh.
Just hits her head.
I was always on the back foot of that and like knowing the quotes and stuff and knowing the general story but not having experienced it like for myself. And so when I came to watch the movies, that's probably why I was like, okay, anyways. But
Yeah.
now it's like, it's really the story that gripped me.
Yeah.
So,
And your opinion on things can change too. I think,
right.
you know, a lot of people think like it can't. Like, if you, let's say, liked the sequel trilogy and you don't anymore, fine. If you
Right.
liked it, or if you didn't like it and now you like it, fine. The same
Right.
goes with anything else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's acceptable. You're human.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I feel like that happens a lot for us just talking, you know, like, oh, a year ago I loved this thing, and now I'm like, not so
Yeah.
much, and it's okay. It's whatever.
Yeah, I mean, different tastes in foods, in shows, in movies, in politics, in the people you date. Like, you know, you might love them today, and then next year you'll be like, ew.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
It happens. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's all about evolution, changing your brain. So.
Growing up,
Yeah.
becoming mature.
Well, I mean, in your case, reprogramming, but yeah.
Oh no.
Software updates.
You're right.
Oh,
You're right.
man.
You're right.
Software updates, yeah. Firmware update. What else you guys
Okay.
got going on today?
Today,
Yeah.
a
We blocked
good
out the whole
question.
day for this.
yeah, you're
Oh, holy
special.
Yeah. We did get
Thank-
frozen yogurt earlier.
That
That's
was
nice.
fun.
That was
Yeah.
fun.
Just hang. That's one thing that's nice is just doing simple things. We go to coffee shops a lot and just
Yeah.
hang out.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll probably just be hanging out for the rest of the day.
Probably watch one of these movies.
Right?
Yeah.
We're gonna have a movie night and everything.
I think fanboys. You should start off with that one. Get the popcorn. Yeah.
Yeah.
that sounds fun.
Yeah. You guys will have a blast. I'm sure you'll like that one. You'll have to text me and let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or we never watch it and you never get.
I'm like, yeah. But
We hated it.
deletes the whole
We watched
podcast.
the movie. It was the worst.
You know, I mean, based off just the description of it, it sounds like
Oh, it's
something
cool.
I think we would all get on board with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a classic for sure.
Yeah. I still need to get you guys to watch Nacho Libre.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
Yeah. No, I've never seen that. I haven't seen a lot of like the classics that everyone talks about, which is actually is funny because
Clearly.
yeah, because everyone's like, so do you just watch Star Wars? I'm like, I guess pretty much.
Have you watched Dragon Ball? Dragon Ball Z?
No,
but I've heard about
I've heard a
it.
ton about it, but I've never seen it.
We got a lot of shirts at work that were Dragon Ball Z, and
Yeah.
I kept selling them, and I'm like, I should watch this.
And everyone would
Yeah.
say it was really good. So
We should start a reaction
I was
channel.
gonna say at this point now we should probably start a channel and just get us to watch everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you should.
it's an idea.
Something reacts. I don't know. Some reaction channel name.
How about you? Anything else going on?
No, I mean I'll eventually check what the contractor guy's doing downstairs. It's like banging on work in here or not. Is it
Actually,
coming through?
you just said that and I kind of heard it, but
Yeah.
I haven't heard it at all.
Okay. No, and then I'll just have to make a whole bunch of videos because I'll be gone all of July. And then get food and train. That's about it.
Nice.
It sounds
Yeah.
good.
And then come home and work again. Yeah.
Do you have cons that you're going to be at in July?
Yeah, we have Denver, and then we have, and then I'll be in New York to hang out with Nick Gillard, and then I will be in Miami for SuperCon.
Whoa.
Oh.
So
Sounds
SuperCon
super.
and MegaCon in Florida?
They just go big out there, huh?
Yeah, I guess. They need a mega SuperCon next. Combine everything.
And then super megacon.
Yeah.
Just rival cons.
Oh, sorry, I was like, he just said that.
Mega super and super mega.
She looks at her phone, changes the programming, shuts you down.
No, agree with me here.
What did he say? Nothing, you're right, nothing.
Oh,
It's
man.
sad because it's true.
Oh, you guys are pixel blobs again.
Oh, no.
It's
Yeah.
me.
I don't
I'm
think
so
there's been a
sorry.
moment where I've been able to see you guys like properly in HD. It's
Really? Oh, that's a bummer.
I'm just sucking up all the bandwidth. It's just me.
the firmware.
All you see is just her face.
I'll take a picture of it in a second. I'll show you exactly what it is.
I know, I'm curious. So you just look like nothing. Thumbs up.
It's pretty rough.
Well, I'm
It's
sorry
funny.
about that.
You're perfectly
be
clear on
sorry.
our
I know,
screen.
like,
Oh, good.
the quality
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
great.
That's nice. What else you want to chat about?
Actually, we do have a couple of the listener submitted notes, and some of these were cracking me up. So the first one was about Darth Jar Jar. I
Yeah.
forgot how they worded it, but it was just something about like, you got to talk about Darth Jar Jar on the podcast. And then I was thinking, like, okay, what's the actual possibility that is a thing? Because actually, in high school, I was like, wait, like that actually could make sense. But I've actually, when I first watched the prequels, I hated Jar Jar so much. He just drove me mad. And then as I got older, I actually really started liking Jar Jar as a character, and now I totally love him, which is
Well,
it's really fun.
Yeah, he gives that little bit of break, that pause,
Yeah.
and all the seriousness that is the prequels.
Yeah.
And each one of George's projects has that. He's got C-3PO, R2, and he's got Jar Jar in the prequels.
So yeah, it's
So-
just funny. So now when I watch the prequels and like there's this sequence where he's just tripping and whatever. I'm like, this is actually pretty funny that it's just in the middle of this movie with this,
Yeah.
war going on and he's just there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, his kids like them. George's kids like Jar Jar. So
Yeah.
That's cute.
yeah,
But yeah, and Ahmed Best too. Like he's a really cool guy. We
Yeah.
got to meet him last
I've never
year.
met
He
him.
was- yeah. He was at a con. We actually volunteered for our first con last year. Ceaira, I, and our older sister Haley, and it was a really good experience. So it was fun. It was a all Star Wars con.
Oh, cool. What was it?
It's called Rebel Scum Con. It was
Oh,
their
yeah.
first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year was their first year. And so we were like, well, we'll just volunteer because we had met the guys who ran it like a couple weeks before the con. And so we were like, let's just volunteer and, something to do that weekend. And it's Star Wars themed, so it was fun. But yeah, it ended up being way more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, we were going to go to that, but we couldn't. We have all the fan expos that we signed up, and it's the same day. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard in the summer with cons. It's stacked. It's multiple cons.
where's
in the same weekend.
where are they again?
They do it in Texas. It's in Frisco, so just
Got it.
north of Dallas.
Okay.
But yeah, last year I think it was Plano, but I think it's going to be Frisco from here on out.
Okay. Yeah, I think we
But
have
yeah.
Chicago at that one or Boston. Boston.
That'll be fun. But
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely recommend that. They're all really nice people. Like,
Yeah, I
they-
spoke to them on the phone, but we just couldn't make it work because it was the time. It was the same day. So
Yeah. It happens.
oh well.
But yeah, one of them actually, this is something we've joked about over the years. It was cracking me up that someone thought the same thing, but that Rex isn't naturally blonde, but that he dyes his hair. Because we cracked a
That's what
joke
I always
about
thought
it.
too.
Yeah, because I think it was because I used to write fan fiction, and so it was just kind of part of the bit was that he dyed his hair, and they had said like as a cadet he dyed his hair and it stayed permanent, but then I'd always thought I'm like no, he regularly like dyes
Well,
his
his
hair.
eyebrows are dark, aren't they?
It's true.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So then he dyes one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Either his eyebrows
Blonde
or his
hair.
hair.
Why would
his
he dye his
eyebrows.
eyebrows? He's just
I
like
don't know. Yeah.
it's a look. But yeah, no, that was the thing because we're like by the time he does it once, and then that's his most notable trademark. How he's distinguished.
Well, it's
Like
Star Wars.
I can't go back now.
They
So
probably have like a permanent dye.
right,
Oh, that's true.
very true.
Just inject it right into it.
Into his head when the
That's
new
all.
hair grows out, it just
Yeah.
grows
Knowing
blonde.
Star Wars, it's probably something you drink.
Maybe.
Blonde milk.
What the heck? Canned milk? Blonde milk? That's crazy.
Well, you're on here like, what did I sign up for? They're saying all kinds of
You're like, get me out of here.
No, I mean, this
I
is
gotta
normal. This
go.
is like normal conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we try to do with the podcast.
How do you guys find it growing as a Star Wars creator today?
I feel like we're still in a little bubble of where our community is. We attract people that are a lot like us, and so it's been slow going. But
Yeah,
I mean,
Slow but steady.
I've
Ish.
noticed when we regularly do weekly episodes, we have a very steady, consistent growth. One thing that I really like is kind of like this conversation now. When we're talking, we're just talking and saying random jokes
milk.
and
Yeah.
blonde milk and things. And
Yeah.
that's the things, like people will reach out like, this episode cracked me up when you guys were talking about this.
Yeah.
And so the audience that we're getting, like the regulars, they're like us, you know. So it's a really good small community, and that's just that's one thing about it is I'm just enjoying that it's not super big, and that we just have really amazing people in our small little community.
that are dedicated to. Like we could post for not post for months, and then they come back.
Yeah,
So
it's important. I would recommend you upload, as much as you can.
yeah,
Even once a week, just like a little update with what's going on.
yeah,
Let everyone know that you're still thinking of them and
yeah.
still have them on your mind.
Exactly.
It's important.
Which is something we try to do. We went through a phase where life in general was just pretty wild last year,
Yeah.
so we just kind of stopped, but then we'd come back like, hey, we're delaying episodes again. We've been trying to get the Clone Wars started for like 2 years now. And so we're excited that it's finally happening. So I'm sure to a certain extent our listeners are like, yeah, sure, you're going to record today. Because they know we're recording today. So they didn't.
that's good.
It's a surprise that it's with you. So that'll be
Why is that?
fun. Just because we wanted to announce it.
Just cause.
We'll announce it probably in a couple
I
days.
thought-
It's going to
okay.
be. It's
I thought okay, never mind. I took red.
You get it? Yeah.
Yeah.
No one knows that it's you. No, it's just we haven't announced yet that we're doing an episode with you.
Well, if you're cool with it, I'll take some clips and stuff and I'll post it and I'll tag you guys as well.
Oh
Yeah.
for sure.
That'll help it for sure.
Yeah, we really appreciate that
Yeah.
too. By the way,
Of course. Yeah. It'll be good.
so yeah, it's just we have a really good community of people, and I mean we come across there's some bumps and there's some people that
course.
we just we're like
That won't
okay.
stop.
Yeah.
The bigger you
Exactly.
get, the bigger you get. It's gonna
Yeah.
happen
Mm-hmm.
more
Yeah.
and more and more, and then you'll just have to be able to take it.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the thing, too, is not... Because you get a lot of criticism about certain things, and our goal is to, at the heart of it, this is just something we do because we love doing it.
Right.
And so not, becoming like, oh, I got to do it this way because that's what everybody
No.
wants, you know. So
No, that's
Just
when you
keeping-
lose your authenticity and
Right.
when you become bought out. And I've seen a lot of really good people. You know, when I started the channel, it was totally different than what it is like today to be a Star Wars content creator.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people that, you know, they were so like-minded with me, and then you know, Disney will hit them up, and all of a sudden they unfollow me. They change tune. They're bought out, and so it's really important to keep that integrity. And if you truly do like something, great, good for you. If you truly don't, then speak your mind and just be respectful about it. But that's, you know, the bigger you grow, and you're going to grow more and more, it's you're always going to get more people that will agree and disagree. You just got to be ready for it.
Yeah.
Don't let it bug you.
yeah. Which again, like you're a huge inspiration for that, you know,
Yeah.
and just not letting it get to you, and also not falling in line with Disney or like things like that, you know. So it's
Right.
like, well, you know, Star Wars Theory can do it. Let's, you know,
Yeah.
stick it out too.
Yeah.
So
I think I really owe that to the decade that I grew up in, because it was encouraged that you just be yourself. And, you know, there was always the incentive of like, oh, yeah, like be like this and you can be popular, or you can whatever, or be like that, and you won't have as many friends, but you'll stay true to yourself. And that, for me, it was always just more natural to be like, well, this is me, and I don't really want to change for anybody or anything, because that's not really true to who I am. So if you carry that same energy going forwards, you're not only going to be respected by a lot of people, but I think you're going to go very far.
That's good to know.
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you'll do well.
It's also encouraging because, like, I mean, there's three of us. We're friends. We've been friends longer than we've known Star Wars. And so, like, there's always going to be that aspect of us and our authenticity that we bring to the table. And I feel like that's a lot of what our listeners look for as well when they come to each episode, is they're not just wanting to hear about Star Wars, but they're wanting to, I guess, you know, have a good time, because we have a good time when we record, and like it's a fun listen. So,
Yeah. No,
That
exactly.
actually, that's something that really surprised me, because when we first started, I mean, I was young too, so I was like trying to figure out podcasting and audio equipment setups, and on top of that, like, what are we going to talk about and what are we going to post? And I was like, well, it's got to, you know, all be about Star Wars, and that's like the forefront. But as we went on, you know, like there were times where we just go off and have a conversation and just be cracking up.
Right.
And those were always the episodes where people would reach out and be like, this is my favorite episode you've ever done.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like really? And so now as we're getting older and just doing it longer, we're like, it obviously, you know, we talk about Star Wars. This is a Star Wars podcast. But also, like, just having that personal aspect of bringing our stories and just, you know,
Our personalities. As
yeah,
well.
showing people who we are, and just being, you know, just fun and lighthearted in that way, and just giving something for people to listen to enjoy,
Yeah.
you know, that's not necessarily strictly about Star Wars.
Yeah, just be authentic, be yourself. It's so, I mean, it was rare when I started. It's the most rare today to find authentic people that don't cave, they don't bend for money, for brand deals, for what a loud minority or majority will tell them.
Right.
It takes a lot of integrity, but you know, what's the alternative? Is to be bought out? No, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but a lot of people do choose that path. So you guys will figure it out.
Yeah.
If anything,
doing
we'll
great.
just rely on my programming.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
That's staying
I was
forever.
gonna say that's.
I will never live
I'm
that down.
picturing 30 years from now, we're gonna be
Yeah.
chilling, and it's just gonna come up.
Yeah, it's my programming. Very good.
Blame it all on the program.
I really want to see a review. What your guys' review is going to be of Fanboys, though. Like you definitely should upload that.
That might be fun. Let's just try it on.
Just watch it and then like don't even write points down. Just be like what you thought of it.
Just talk about
riff,
it.
unedited.
Yeah.
Just upload.
Just post it.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
wild. Yeah, maybe we'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? What do you got to
That
lose?
is.
Exactly.
viewers.
Again,
Oh,
but at least we had a good time making
Right.
the video.
They come and
Yeah.
go. Viewers come and go.
Exactly.
Exactly.
The ones who stick with you are the ones that you really want to care about. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We lose every single video we have. Not video, viewer we have. But it's
I like
okay. It
that.
was
It's
worth
okay.
it.
then you'll get a whole new slew of people.
True. Yeah.
Very
Exactly.
true.
That's how it works.
My mom will always watch.
That's what I tell
There you
people
go.
actually, because the first question people always ask when I say like, "Oh, we have a podcast," like how many followers do you have? And I'll just be like, "Oh, my mom, and Haley's mom,
Yeah.
my sister." So it's just joking about it.
Yeah.
Well, at least you start with one.
True. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's all it takes. Making content and being a podcaster or whatever, it's just like making a snowman. You start with a little piece of snow and you start rolling it and it becomes this giant freaking thing and it
Yeah.
turns into an avalanche eventually. So it's, it always starts with that one little snowflake.
Yeah.
It's such a cute
Butterfly.
little metaphor.
It is. Snowman.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
It is.
it is. It's very
Yeah.
true.
How many followers do you guys have now?
Our mom.
Well, my mom and my sister. No, I'm kidding. I think on the
Well, it's good. At least
Instagram.
now they'll know who I am. At least. So.
Exactly. On the Instagram, we have a little over 400. But
great.
for the podcast wise, I don't know. I think we have at least like 500 who listen regularly.
That's awesome.
Which again, it's not much, but for us, like we love more just getting to talk and hang out and
Yeah.
make podcast episodes. So,
Yeah.
and I know it'll pick up, But I'm proud of our little community.
Yeah.
If I can recommend one thing, it's to the clips are what's going to make you blow up.
Yeah.
So if you can get some controversial anything and title it as such, it's going to go a long way. So
Yeah.
that's why I said if you want to ask me anything that's like it's going to be good for your channel, I'm happy.
Yeah. Say the
Answer
most
anything.
controversial thing right now.
Well, I mean, you could title a whole bunch of different things as whatever you want. Like, what are some of the most
Yeah.
controversial things that people ask me or like assume about me?
I
that you've
actually
seen?
that I know of before I had like actually, because that's a big thing too, is I'm like, you hear so many people's opinions, but I'm like, I want to form my own opinion about something instead
Right.
of just going off of this. So I mean, I've heard so many things about you before I looked into it, but the biggest one was probably just like Star Wars theory hates Star Wars.
Yeah.
That was like the biggest thing, and I was like, I've heard this guy is like insanely popular and has a lot of views. I highly doubt he hates Star Wars, and just think that he hated this show, and it was just a lot of people just saying you hated things, So then I watch your videos and I'm like, what the heck? Like he's doing a whole lore video about something. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this guy is pretty passionate about it. So
Yeah.
it's things like
Okay.
that.
Well, okay. What are some of the other things you can use? These are going to be clips that you're going to use, and I could use them.
Let me
Yeah.
think.
I mean, I'll say like I didn't really care to watch your videos until I learned more about you because I've always listened to what a lot of other people said about you, and that was like, oh, he, like you said, like he hates Star Wars, like he doesn't like any of the new stuff because it's, it's gone woke or it's got its completely different agenda. And so I was like, okay, I guess he's just hypercritical about everything and I won't watch. But it's like, I kind of also agree with those things. And so it's so strange to see how many people will hate on one person because they're not afraid to say, like, what they believe or, like, their opinion, which is rooted in facts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I think that's where the biggest amount of controversies come up when we hear about you is like if you're watching something and you're like, oh, I wasn't a fan of that, but I loved this.
Right.
People will just take the you weren't a fan of this and just blow it out of proportion. And like the bricks and screws thing that went around. Like, I was like, oh my gosh. And so then I went back and watched the clip where you actually were talking about it. And I was like, wow, okay, that was blown out of proportion.
Yeah. Well, it's in their best interest to blow it out of proportion so they can get
Right.
views. Because
Yeah.
unfortunately, nobody watches their content unless I'm in the thumbnail or in the title. And if they don't make a clip that's out of context and cuts out all the other explanations of things, then they won't get those
Right.
views.
Exactly.
So it's in their best interest to spin some sort of a narrative so that they get those views, and it's really
Yeah.
unfortunate. But the good thing about the internet is that everything's always there in the sense that they can go back and watch the original if they really want to do that due
Yeah.
diligence. Unless they just want to follow whatever they see on Twitter, then okay. But no, that's cool that you went back and watched it. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, of
cool.
course.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought, again, I didn't want to just form an opinion about you without knowing the context. And so I had seen like a couple videos, like your most recent at the time, and I was like, he doesn't seem like someone who would, blow something out of proportion in that way. So then that's what made me go back and rewatch things. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what happens is when you start to get when I said under 700,000 subscribers was my most enjoyable time on the channel. Everything after that is kind of like you're you're criticized to a certain degree of what you can say or can't say, and I don't know. I never changed how I was, regardless of how many subs I had. So whether I had 1 or 50 million, it's going to be the same thing. And some people just don't like that. So
Yeah.
they'll take those things and spin them out of context, and
Yeah.
it's in their best interest. But it's
Yeah.
it's the way it is, and you guys will figure it out once you start blowing up.
Yeah. I feel like that's something that we've always, or at least I've always been a little bit scared to do, is like unbridled, say whatever it is that comes to your mind type thing of like, whether it be controversial, whether or not somebody will be offended by
Keep going.
it.
It's okay.
Like,
We'll fix that later in your program.
no stutters. There you go. There's a clip. Ruby from SWORR is actually a
She's
droid.
actually a droid.
But yeah, like, it's difficult for me, and I think for us, to also say, something so controversial. Not that we have very controversial opinions, or we have a following that doesn't think the same, to branch out of that and to hit those topics with no fear, if that makes sense.
That's how you
Yeah.
have to approach it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of people that don't. But it becomes very dangerous in that sense because they'll be like, okay, I'm so liked. But then
Right.
they look in the mirror and they're like, wait, this is not really me anymore.
Right.
And if people start to like this version of you that you've created based on
Yeah.
their checklist.
Yeah.
It's no longer you. It's someone else. And
Right.
you'll be forever thrown deeper and deeper into that role that you
Right.
now have to play. And people will start to sniff that out and be like, this person's not really genuine. Because
Right.
they just, the way they talk, the way they like everything, or if something's clearly horrible, they're getting paid now to talk good about it or go to this event or that event. It is truly liberating to speak your mind and not have to stutter or think, should I say this? What are people going to think? How's that going to affect my podcast or my
Right.
career? Or, no, just, you're not saying anything that horrible. If you didn't
Right.
like something, freaking say it. Not a big deal. If you
Right.
liked it, you liked it. You're a person at the end of the day, and people really value authenticity more than anything else, especially today. For sure.
Yeah, and I feel like as we get older too, we're all kind of gearing towards that of we just want to be authentic with it and also respectful, to people who have different opinions. Like we're not saying wild things, we're just saying we don't agree with it and
Yeah.
here's why. Or we didn't like this in Star Wars and here's why, but we're not hating on anybody about it. So
Yeah.
it's a good balance.
Yeah. No, it's good to be balanced for sure. And I do find the older you get, the less you care what other people think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So authenticity from day one, it'll make your life easier. Especially on mine. And I get it. I know everyone wants to be liked. Everyone wants to grow their channel fast and blah, blah, blah. And they think the best way to do that is to, curate their opinions based on what the loud minority want. But gosh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just talking with you, it's like, like that's the best way to go with having, podcasts or YouTube channel and things like that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
No, I
It's
agree.
great getting to talk with you about it.
Oh, it's lovely to talk to you guys too. So it's nice. I always like talking to the down to earth, like normal people, where it's not like a massive debate on why didn't you like this? Well, why,
Right.
you're this, that, and it becomes totally derailed.
Yeah. Becomes
Yeah.
exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. That's one thing I was looking forward to about this episode is because I'm like, we can talk about controversies and things without like, having this whole debate and just talking about, what really matters and being genuine and things like that. It's refreshing.
Yeah, it is. And having seen, when I started Star Wars YouTube, it was like there were 3 or 4 of us, and now there's, everybody. Everyone has an Instagram page or a YouTube channel or a podcast or something, and it's just interesting to see from my perspective.
I can imagine.
There was nobody. There was like no one before. So
Yeah. We always say that. We're like, everyone and their mother has a podcast. Because it's
literally,
true.
yeah. Would you say everyone and their mom's uncle or something?
Like, didn't you said that earlier?
I said that, yeah.
Is that an inside joke to something?
Yeah. It's a family inside joke.
Oh, man. I did have, let's see. Actually, this is a really cool listener submission. It's this guy. His name is Tim. He seems like we've never met him in person. He seems like a really cool dude. But I think he listens to the podcast. But anyway, he reaches out every once in a while, and he was just at a con with the Clone Wars cast, and they had a panel, and someone had asked the cast, like, what are your favorite theories? And Kat Tabor had said that one of her favorites is at Padme's funeral, that it was a decoy for Padme. So I thought it was cool to hear, one from Kat Tabor. So, and thank you, Tim, for sharing that. But yeah, that's a good one. I've always hoped Padme would come back, but I was kind of like, at the same time, like her story was kind of like,
Impactful
Told.
as it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of like that finality to it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really sad, heartbreaking story for her, but it would also kind of dilute her story if she did come back.
Yeah.
In my
no,
opinion, at least.
I think she's dead.
Yeah.
She's dead.
We saw it happen.
Literally.
She died.
Yeah. It is. Padme has always been one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. Just because of her story, and like for her, it ends really, really sad, but she was a really strong character. So, yeah, I've always loved Padme.
Yeah, I wish they would have incorporated that final scene in the concept art with her on Mustafar. Did you ever see that one? Where she
don't
brought the
think so.
knife. She was about to kill Anakin.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. I haven't
Yeah.
heard
I
that
haven't
one.
heard that.
Yeah,
Holy
Would've
cow.
been crazy.
yeah. Look up
That would
the concept art for Padme. She
Dang
she's
it.
standing
Adding
there.
it to the list.
Yeah, I made a video on it like 7 years ago or something, and she had a knife hiding in her palm, behind her back, essentially.
Man.
And she was going to kill him. She was going to stab him.
Wow.
That would actually be crazy.
That adds a whole other layer to it.
It would've been cool. They should've left it in there.
That would have been just heartbreaking to watch, even more so than it already is.
Yeah.
But it
Well,
would
I
have
mean,
like
she
completely
decided
changed the
against it,
story. Yeah.
Just the thought of it, that would
Well,
be...
just the fact that she'd be strong enough to do that.
Yeah.
I like that version of her.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good idea.
Because I think she did kind of lose that warrior feel in Revenge of the Sith. Just like,
Yeah,
You
she
know.
became so in love, and
Right.
having his
Yeah.
babies, and
right.
I was gonna say she was also pregnant, very hormonal, so
Yeah,
it could have a factor there.
yeah, for sure. And trying to hide who the father is and all that.
Yeah,
True. She
Yeah.
could have killed the father and nobody would have known.
yeah. That is something though too. Is her character? I'm gonna move on.
All right.
Her character in the Clone Wars versus the movies, especially Revenge of the Sith. You know, like she's just such a powerful public speaker and just like getting things done and giving
Yeah.
a voice to people who didn't have one. And then I'm glad that they did actually elaborate on her character in that way. Because just based off the movies, like she is a strong character, but we didn't get to see very much of her. You know?
No, and they definitely portray her stronger in the Clone Wars. I think,
Yeah.
and in the books. Mm-hmm. Like her
Definitely in
handmaidens
the
were
books.
assassins. No one really knows.
Yeah. I just started reading. I say just. Now that I think about it, it's been over a year that I started. I haven't finished the books yet, but I thought that was a cool concept just with the assassin handmaidens and like just how elaborate their scheme was and then the decoys and stuff. It was really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I would have liked to have seen more of that. I feel like they made her a stronger female character in the Clone Wars.
Yeah. I have a really random question.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah?
Shoot.
So, E.T. is... Girl,
Don't hit your head.
stop. Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Okay.
It keeps hitting the headphones, not my head.
Okay.
Oh.
I think that's why I'm misjudging distance.
Anyway, is it Revenge of the Sith where there's like in one of the Senate pods there's like ET species?
Yeah, yeah. And then also in the Boonty Eve pod race in episode 1.
No, seriously? That's funny.
I
Yeah.
hate that so much.
What the heck?
I hate ET. He creeps
Oh.
me out.
He always scared me as a kid, actually.
That's gonna blow up on.
No.
I hate ET.
Ruby hates E.T. with a passion.
Was she programmed to hate ET,
No.
or is
I-
it her own?
I don't know. For some reason, when I was a kid and the first time I watched it,
I'm okay.
the first time I watched E.T., when he's like all white and dried out by the river, I just,
Oh, well,
I
yeah.
like that. I can't even watch E.T. I don't know why. It just freaks me out. But then my sister, she would always drop Reese's Pieces in my room. And then she'd be around the corner of the door and just start slowly grabbing it. My sister, she has some pretty long fingers. And so it's just, it
Where are
was
we going
not
with
a
this?
vibe. I just wanted to know if E.T. was actually in Star,
In
Wars,
Star Wars.
and he is in it.
He was.
Everything is wrong now.
Yeah, he was.
You weren't supposed to say that. But
Well-
do they
well-
have a name?
No, I mean George and Steven Spielberg are buddies, so they just decided
True.
to put and like Indiana Jones, in one of the hieroglyphs, you could see R2 and C-3PO.
I remember that.
That's cool.
Yeah,
You're so
Anyways.
appalled. This is all you're going to remember
Well,
from
it's
this
like-
podcast episode?
It's the same. Well, it's kind of worse, but it's the same thing as you learning that.
Yoda was a Muppet.
Yeah.
Well, he technically wasn't.
No,
But-
but Jim Henson.
Yeah. When I found out that was even I hate the Muppets. I was just something I didn't grow up watching.
yeah.
And so it for some reason, kind of, I guess, how E.T. weirds you out, they just weird me out. It's not so much now,
Oh.
but as a kid, it was just like, I didn't like it. And so
Pretty
told me
sure
one-
I watched a lot of Elmo when I was a kid.
I watched Elmo for sure. And I liked Elmo. I just didn't like
What are the Muppets then?
The Muppets
Like
are like
Kermit.
Kermit the Frog. And,
Elmo is Sesame Street.
Oh, I
Yeah.
liked
Which-
Kermit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never was
Whoa,
a fan.
what do you think? What are you guys doing?
See, that's another one to add to the list.
Hey, buddy. How you doing? I'm Kermit the Frog. Are you guys going to watch Star Wars?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so the Muppets. I wasn't a big fan of it.
Fair enough.
I was.
Now I feel like I need to say something I hate, but I can't think of anything.
I hate Star Wars.
Okay, I'm done. No.
Oh man. But yeah, I mean that's about all the points we had to hit, but any other questions?
No, I don't have any questions. I'm just having a good time chatting with you guys.
Any last
Yeah,
words?
this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What? That's what any last words?
Any last words before we program you too?
No. It's you now, too.
Everyone's like, Theory's been acting a little strange lately ever since he went on that podcast.
I love the sequels. Yeah, no.
Oh man.
Yeah, but I feel like you guys would have a good time watching those movies and do some reviews would be great.
Yeah, keep an eye out. We just started our YouTube channel actually, and this is gonna be the first video that we upload.
Oh wow, cool.
So yeah, it'll be a ton
Okay,
of
well,
fun. And then
let me know when it's out, and I'll take lots of. I'll send it to my editors, and they'll make clips and stuff, and
yeah,
then we'll link,
for sure.
link back
That's awesome.
to
I'm
the
sure-
channel.
Yeah, I'm sure within the next 2 weeks it'll be out. We're gonna record our Fan Expo Dallas review, and then this one will come right
Cool.
after.
Yeah, let me know.
Yeah, we'll do. Excited.
Me too. Yeah.
So anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode or watching this episode, and thank you so much, Nia, for coming on. We really appreciate
My
it.
pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Stay tuned because we have the Clone Wars reviews coming up. We're going to be doing weekly episodes on that. If you follow us on our Instagram every week, we're going to be posting on our stories listener note submission boxes. So if you watch the episodes along with us and would like to submit notes, feel free to do that, and we'll talk about them on our episodes. Until next time, I have spoken.
McClunky.
Yep, nub.
It's treason then.
Amazing. That was awesome.
I love it.